Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Natsu had dual elements. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Quick update. What if Dragon Deck user in Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal and What If Reborn as a Goku clone will be going on hold soon, since we've nearly caught up with the author. So now, I need your help picking the next project for the channel. I'm currently deciding between these three fanfics. What if Gacha system in Modern Family World? What if Fusion Deck user in a different Yu-Gi-Oh! GX? What if Transmigrated in One Piece and becoming a Marine? Please vote in the poll and let me know which story you'd like to see next. I'll take the top 2 picks and start working on those 2 series next. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 13, Deliora's Demise. What did you say? Natsu said with a furious look, turning to glare at the enemy mages. The Dragon Slayer's jaw was clenched, and his were tightly balled. Lucy could feel the air fill with electricity, as Natsu's magic flooded the area. About 50 or so villagers, and 2 mages. Yuka observed, crossing his arms behind his back. I give them 10 minutes, tops. How dare they? Mocha breathed out, as his eyes hardened. They destroyed Bobo's grave. The village chief rushed forward, but was stopped by a small group of villagers. It's unforgivable. You'll pay for what you've done. Chief. You have to calm down. A villager said, as he held Mocha back. Everyone get out of here. Yeah, we don't want to be sucked into this fight. Another villager exclaimed, as he picked up Gray's unconscious form. We'll keep Gray-san safe. I won't let any of you get away. Sherry said, her eyes narrowing at the fleeing villagers. Ryuichi-sama's orders were for total obliteration. Sherry turned to the massive mouse behind her. Angelica, shall we? Shoo! Angelica exclaimed, scooping Sherry up in her arms and flying after the villagers. You son of a bitch, get back here! Natsu roared, as Sherry and Angelica sped past them. Lucy! You have to stop them. Right. Leave her to me. Lucy shouted, as grabbed a hold of Angelica's large foot as she flew past. The celestial spirit mage held on for dear life, as Angelica flew higher into the air. Stop right now. Don't you dare try to harm the villagers. Lucy began to frantically punch Angelica's foot, but it had little effect. Who's that? Sherry asked, spotting the blonde girl from before hanging off Angelica's foot. Looks like we have a stowaway. Let's see how you like this. Lucy exclaimed, as she unraveled her whip. Cocking her arm back, Lucy began to repeatedly strike Angelica in the face with her whip. The massive mouth roared in pain, and stopped spinning her tail. What are you doing, Angelica? If your tail stops spinning. But before Sherry could finish, Angelica began to plummet towards the ground below. Yee-haw! Lucy cheered with a wide grin, as she clutched onto the plummeting Angelica. Please stay safe, Luce, we're counting on you. Natsu said to himself, as he watched the large mouse crash into the ground a safe distance away. The Dragon Slayer's fists clenched, causing veins to bulge on his arms. If you get hurt because of these guys, I don't know what I'll do. I bet she'll snap. Yuka said with a bored look, as he watched Angelica smash into the ground. I didn't. Toby roared in anger, earning a sigh of annoyance from Yuka. I wasn't talking about you. Yuka pointed out, as he pinched the bridge of his nose. Natsu, do you think Lucy is alright? Happy asked with a concerned look. Lucy's real tough buddy. She'll be fine. Natsu said with a toothy grin. But go check on her, just in case. Aye, sir. Happy cheered, as he began to fly towards where Lucy was. Now. Natsu said, turning back to Yuka and Toby. The Dragon Slayer's body became engulfed in lightning as he shot towards Toby. I can deal with you too. Lightning Dragon's Sword Horn. Natsu hit Toby with an electrically charged headbutt, sending the dogman crashing to the ground. Yuka's eyes widened in shock as he watched his teammate fall in one hit. Using his momentum to flip forward, Natsu inhaled deeply. Embers formed around his mouth as he aimed at Yuka. Fire Dragon's Roar. Natsu unleashed a red-hot stream of fire at Yuka, engulfing the mage in the intense flames. Flipping completely over, Natsu came to a skidding stop. However, Natsu's eyes widened when he saw his flames begin to disperse, leaving Yuka completely unharmed. Such violent flames, Yuka said with a flick of his wrist, causing the rest of Natsu's flames to disappear. TCH, don't tell me you're Fairy Tail's famed salamander. Natsu's attention focused on some movement behind him. Glancing over, the Dragon Slayer saw that Toby was getting back to his feet. A frown spread across Natsu's face as he watched the dogman dust himself off. Damn it, he's back up now too. We once belonged to a famous guild, too. So we won't be defeated so easily. Yuka said, as a smirk spread across his face. You must have heard of Lamia Scale. Natsu's eyes widened when he heard this. That's right, the guild Iron Rock Jura belongs to. I don't give a fuck. Natsu roared, shooting a stream of flames out of both of his arms. Yuka quickly raised a barrier to protect himself, but Toby was hit full force. Be bastard. Listen to my tale until the end. Yuka exclaimed, as he continued to block Natsu's flames. It's none of my business. Natsu said, clenching his teeth. I don't give a shit which guild you used to belong to, or who your nakama are. You're targeting our client, meaning you're bothering our work. A vein bulged on Natsu's forehead, as his eyes filled with rage. Which means you're enemies of Fairy Tail. That's good enough reason for me to fight. Toby, don't butt in. Yuka said, as Toby got back to his feet once again. I'll deal with him. Surge! Yuka waved his arm, and a wave of magic flew towards Natsu. Easy, I'll just bust through it. Natsu said, as electricity sparked off his fists. But Natsu's eyes widened when he saw the wave of magic begin to cut into the ground. Reacting quickly, Natsu dove out of the way. Ah, I see you've noticed the nature of my magic. Yuka said with a small smirk. Natsu growled, and released another stream of fire from his mouth. Surge! Another wave of magic nullified Natsu's flames. Each wave I create release vibrations that nullifies all magic. In short, it's magic that blocks other magic. So that's the feeling I got earlier. I felt I couldn't block your magic with my fire or lightning. Natsu said, wiping the excess flames from his mouth. When I worked for Lamia Scale, I worked as an anti-mage. Yuka explained, as he gathered a large amount of magic around his hands. You know why, don't you? Yuka raised his arms, releasing the large amount of magic he had gathered. The magic rocketed forward, causing large explosions right in front of Natsu. All other mages are powerless before me. The Dragon Slayer raised his arm to shield himself from the flying debris. That should take care of him, Yuka said with an evil smirk. However, Yuka's eyes widened when Natsu shot out of the cloud of debris, flames licking his clenched fists. We'll see about that. Natsu roared, as his fist shot forward. Fire Dragon's Iron Fist. Surge! Yuka quickly formed a magical bubble that neutralized that's fire. Fine, I just won't use magic then. Natsu said with a feral grin, as his fist thrust into Yuka's magical barrier. See, it went right through. However, Natsu's began to cringe, as the magical bubble began to violently vibrate his arm. Sticking your bare hand in a magical sphere is just stupid. Yuka taunted, as he prepared to strike Natsu. In a matter of seconds you'll be blown away. I don't think so. Natsu with a strained grin, causing Yuka to quirk a large eyebrow. Oh, and why's that? Yuka asked in a mocking tone. You can't use magic inside my Surge Salamander. I figured out your magic's weakness. Natsu replied, causing Yuka's eyes to widen. I can't use my magic in this sphere, but if I'm not using magic I can pass right through it. Natsu's grin morphed into a wicked smirk, as his elbow began to fire out a constant stream of flames. However, I can still use magic outside this sphere. You can use magic as a booster to increase your physical power? Yuka exclaimed just as the flames streaming off Natsu's elbow exploded backwards. Fire Dragon's flaming elbow. Natsu roared as his fist rocketed forward at an incredible speed. The Dragon Slayer's strike sent Yuka flying backwards. Moments later, Yuka crashed into the ground in an unconscious heap. Heh, that's one down. You're pretty good. Toby said, cracking his knuckles. If you thought that was good, I'll show something even more amazing. Natsu said, as he glared at the remaining enemy mage. You won't. I'm way stronger than Yuka. Toby said, as his nails suddenly elongated. Paralysis nails, mega jellyfish. Toby crossed his arms, and a grin spread across his face. A secret is hidden within these nails. Paralyzation? Natsu asked, quirking a pink eyebrow. How'd you know? Toby exclaimed in a disbelieving tone. Shit. He's a pretty smart mage. I really don't know what to do right now. Natsu said, scratching his head in confusion. He's one of the stupidest people I've ever met. Don't call me stupid. Toby roared, as he lunged at Natsu. The Dragon Slayer quickly sidestepped Toby's strike. Spinning around, Toby took another swipe at Natsu. The Dragon Slayer dodged once again. Letting an enraged roar, Toby began to swipe at Natsu furiously. Once these nails touch, electrocuted, paralyzed, and all that awaits you is death. Wait, did you say electrocute? Natsu asked, as he stopped dodging Toby's attacks. Got you now. Toby exclaimed, as he stabbed his nails into Natsu's chest. Damn it, that kind of stings. Natsu said, as he rubbed the spot where Toby had stabbed him. What? Why aren't you paralyzed? Toby roared, as he stomped his foot. You really are an idiot. Natsu said, striking Toby with an electrified kick to the jaw. Electricity won't work on me, dumbass. Toby spit out some blood, and prepared to attack Natsu again. But the Dragon Slayer reacted first, grabbing a hold of Toby's wrist. I'm getting really annoyed by you. So you're gonna take a nice nap. Natsu then forced Toby stab his nails into his own chest. The dogman roared in pain, as electricity coursed through his body. After a few moments, Toby fell to the ground, paralyzation stopping him from moving. Natsu let out a light sigh, and turned to the ruins of the destroyed village. A frown spread across the Dragon Slayer's face when he saw the melted remains of Bobo's grave. Natsu made his way over to the grave, and put it back together as best as he could. The pink-haired Dragon Slayer kneeled in front of the grave, as he placed down the partially melted headstone. These people have done some truly cruel things. But everything will be back to normal soon, the village and its people. I guarantee it. Natsu stood back to his feet with a determined look in his eyes. I'll avenge you, don't worry. The Dragon Slayer then turned towards where Lucy had crashed. Natsu knew that Lucy could fend for herself, but he couldn't help the inkling of worry that spread through him. Please stay safe, Luce, I know you can handle this. With Lucy and Angelica. Ugh, damn it, that freaking hurt. Lucy groaned, as she began to scan the area around her. Where is that pink-haired girl? *sniffle*. Thanks to you, girly, Righty-Isama's confidence in me has dropped. Sherry said, as tears fell from her eyes. Love? Lucy parroted with a confused look on her face. On top of that, you hurt Angelica. Sherry said, trying to wipe the tears from her eyes. A sudden growl escaped Sherry's throat, as she leveled furious eyes on Lucy. I'll never forgive you. That's fine with me. Lucy exclaimed, as she reached for her gate keys. Bring it on, you psycho bitch. I'll end you. Sherry screamed, thrusting her arm forward, creating a small pink magic circle. At first nothing happened, but after a few moments Lucy began to hear creaking sounds from behind her. Spinning around, Lucy saw that the tree behind her was moving. Wood doll. Eh? The tree is moving? Lucy yelled, just as the now living tree took a swipe at her with one of its large branches. The blonde celestial spirit mage dove backwards and grabbed Taurus' key. Open. Gate of the Golden Bull. Taurus. A magic circle immediately formed in front of Lucy, and Taurus rose out of the ground. With a loud roar, Taurus used his massive axe to cut the wood doll in half. Celestial spirit magic, Sherry said in a shocked tone. And she has one of the 12 zodiacs as well. Great job, Taurus. Lucy cheered, standing back to her feet. Lucy-san's tits are the greatest, Taurus exclaimed, as he blew steam out of his nostrils. Groan asterisk, you're so lucky Natsu isn't here right now, Lucy said, pinching the bridge of her nose. TCH, making your celestial spirit say such things and even enjoying it, that's very indecent, Sherry said, as she placed her hands on her hips. I didn't make him say it, and I am certainly not enjoying it, you bitch, Lucy shouted, shaking an angry fist at Sherry. How unfortunate, Sherry said, as a small smirk spread across her face. Celestial spirit mages are powerless against me. Taurus. Get her, Lucy exclaimed, pointing at Sherry. But to Lucy's surprise, Taurus turned his head and glared at her. Taurus, what's WR? Lucy was cut off when Taurus swung his massive axe at her. Taurus' swing barely missed Lucy, destroying the ground next to her. What the hell, Taurus? What's going on? Fear was evident in Lucy's voice, as she backed away from the celestial spirit. All the air escaped Lucy's lungs when she was slammed to the ground by her throat. Taurus' massive hand was tightly gripped around Lucy's throat. Lucia-san, I can't see control my body, Taurus struggled to say with a pained look on his face. Ha, my doll attack, puppeteer is a magic that can control anything but humans, Sherry said with an evil smile. That applies to celestial spirits as well, since they aren't human. That can't be, Lucy gasped out, as Taurus continued to grip her throat. Taurus, go ahead and strip her, Sherry ordered, causing Lucy's eyes to widen. I am sorry, Lucy-san, I am may act perverted, but I would never do something like this to you, I just can't stop my actions, Taurus managed to say, as he tried his best to fight Sherry's control. Close. Gate of the Golden Bull, Lucy screamed, as Taurus grabbed a hold of the front of her shirt. The blonde yelped when Taurus ripped off her shirt, leaving her bandeau bra as the only thing covering her chest. Please. Close it. Taurus. You open and close celestial spirit gates upon both parties' agreement, Sherry pointed, continuing to bend Taurus to her will. You cannot close a gate one-sidedly. Fairy tales mages must truly be weak if they're only at this level. Lucy let out a pained gasp, as Taurus began to pull her arm back. The blonde could feel that her arm was about to be broken if she didn't do anything soon. As Lucy frantically tried to think of a solution, she could have sworn she heard a voice whisper to her. Please stay safe, Lucy, I know that you can handle this. Was that Natsu? Lucy thought, as she suddenly clenched her fists. That's right. Natsu and the others are counting on me. I can't give up. Lucy let out a steady breath, as she began to focus her magic. All right, one more try. Close. Lucy exclaimed, as she gathered all her will into closing Taurus' gate. Gate of the Golden Bull. The blonde let out a long breath, as she felt Taurus' weight disappear. Opening her eyes, Lucy saw that Taurus' form was beginning to shimmer and fade away. Ha, ha, I did it, Natsu. A wide smile spread across Lucy's face, as she gazed at her hands. I managed to do a forced gate closure. I didn't imagine that she could do something like that, Sherry said, a shocked look on her face. It seems I've miscalculated. I've grown stronger, Lucy said, as she gazed at the fairy tale marker on her hand. With renewed confidence, Lucy stood back to her feet. The blonde grinned as she unwound her whip. Yes. I'm a member of Fairy Tail too. In Deliora's chamber. Lion stood in front in the middle of Deliora's chamber. His eyes wandered over the frozen demon as he studied its form. After a few minutes, Lion was shaken from his thoughts when someone spoke behind him. Ri-iti-sama. Lion turned his head to see a masked man standing behind him. Why didn't you kill that gray brat? No particular reason. Lion replied with a shrug of his shoulders. You know I don't prefer blood. You say that, but at the same time you sent 3 mages to kill all of the villagers. The masked man said, as Lion turned his attention back to Deliora. It seems to me that you may still have some hidden feelings for your once fellow student. Nonsense. Lion said, crossing his arms over his chest. I beat him so badly, he wouldn't dare oppose me, but if he by chance gets in our way again, I'll kill him without hesitation. Really? The masked man asked with an evil smile. Back with Lucy and Sherry. I guess I should acknowledge you as a fairy tale mage after all. Sherry said, as she hopped down to where Lucy was. The real match starts now. Lucy said with a smirk, cracking her whip. Just don't forget, your celestial spirits are useless against me. Sherry said with a smirk of her own. We'll see about that. Lucy said, as she grabbed another key off her ring. I still have a bunch of celestial spirits. Lucy raised the silver key she was holding. Open. Gate of the Canis Minor. Nicola. In a puff of smoke, Plu appeared in front of Lucy. You don't listen, do you? Sherry taunted, as a magic circle formed in front of her hand. Doll attack, puppeteer. Sherry's magic took control of Plu, making him do her bidding. The celestial spirit quickly spun around and began to attack Lucy. However, that consisted of Plu repeatedly pounding on Lucy's boot. Sherry's eyes widened when she saw a grin spread across Lucy's face. You fell for it. Lucy exclaimed, her whip flashing towards Sherry. The pink-haired woman quickly jumped backwards, barely dodging Lucy's attack. Damn! Stupid small fry celestial spirit. Cancel manipulation. Sherry exclaimed, as she continued to dodge Lucy's whip. Enough! Doll attack, rock doll. Lucy's jaw dropped as she watched a massive rock monster form in front of her. Sherry had a wicked smirk on her face, as she stood atop the rock doll. Fuck that! Lucy exclaimed, as she bolted in the opposite direction. With Sherry's rock monster hot on her heels. Fuck, F-U-C-K. Do I even have any celestial spirits that can break that fucking thing? Lucy continued to sprint through the jungle, ducking under branches and dodging trees. Bursting through the tree line, Lucy found herself on the beach. Pant the ocean? I can call Aquarius here, but... Lucy turned around to see Sherry's rock monster looming over her. Looks like you have nowhere else to run. Sherry said, as he monster closed in on Lucy. Water can't beat rock, and Aquarius usually sweeps me away too. Lucy's eyes widened, as an idea popped into her head. Sweeps away. I got it now. Lucy dodged an attack from the rock monster, and made a beeline into the ocean. Sherry's rock doll leaped over Lucy, and landed in the water in front of her. But Lucy was already prepared, a gate key already in her hand. Open. Gate of the Water Bearer. Lucy plunged her key into the ocean, causing a large magic circle to form around her. Aquarius. The mermaid celestial spirit burst out of the water in front of Lucy. Aquarius. You have that powerful celestial spirit as well. Sherry exclaimed in a surprised tone. Our enemy is that woman. Lucy shouted, pointing at Sherry. You hate women like that, right? Take her out. TCH. Aquarius said in an annoyed tone, turning her eyes away from Lucy. You always have a bad attitude. Just take care of her. Lucy yelled, earning a glare from Aquarius. Man, you're as noisy as ever.
No wonder you don't have a boyfriend.
Aquarius jabbed, causing Lucy's cheeks to tinge pink.
That's none of your business,
Lucy exclaimed, as she tried to calm her raging blush.
Doll attack, puppeteer.
Aquarius grunted, as she was taken over by Sherry's magic.
Ha, now you can't use Aquarius anymore.
Make her go back to the celestial spirit world at once.
No,
Lucy said, surprising Sherry.
she's my trump card. Fine with me. Go ahead and be scattered away by the power of the sea,
Sherry exclaimed, as she began to manipulate Aquarius.
Aquarius. Destroy her.
I'll do that without you ordering me around, punk. Aquarius roared, as she formed a massive tidal wave.
You're truly a fool,
Sherry said, as she watched Lucy be swept away by the wave. However, Sherry yelped in surprise when the wave washed over her as well. Both girls screamed, as the tidal wave carried them towards shore.
TCH, what are you talking about, forced gate closure?
Aquarius said with a smirk, as she began to glow.
I'll close the gate at my own will, idiots.
With that final remark, Aquarius returned to the celestial spirit world. Lucy and Sherry both washed up on the beach. Both girls were extremely dizzy, and had a hard time standing back up. Finally, after a few minutes, both girls managed to stand up on wobbly legs.
Aquarius always makes massive waves whether you're friend or foe, Lucy explained, struggling to keep her balance. Gah, I was careless,
Sherry said, almost tripping over herself.
Even so, she didn't destroy my rock doll. So what? The doll only moves if there's someone manipulating it,
Lucy said, her dizziness causing her to spin around aimlessly.
Meaning I don't have to defeat the rock doll as long as I keep you dizzy. Lucy and Sherry suddenly bumped into each.
Both girls immediately began to weakly slap each other.
This is a fairy tale mage. I can't believe you're settling for a tie, Sherry said, dazedly slapping Lucy's arm. This ain't no tie. I'm gonna win,
Lucy exclaimed, as she violently shook her head.
What are you talking about? You're staggering around just like me, you idiot,
Sherry chastised, as she blindly swiped at Lucy.
Not anymore. Take this,
Lucy exclaimed, as she cocked her fist back. With her dizziness now gone, Lucy's clenched fist shot forward.
Lucy's punch hit Sherry in the cheek, sending the pink-haired girl tumbling to the ground. KO bitch. I can't lose,
Sherry said, as she laid on the ground. Her head now spinning from Lucy's punch.
Even if the candle of my life is blown out, my love for Ryuichi-sama won't disappear. Holy shit, you're melodramatic. Quite fucking exaggerating. Come on, all I did was punch you, Lucy exclaimed in an annoyed tone. Angelica, please avenge me,
Sherry said before she fell unconscious. A large crash sounded in the jungle behind Lucy. The blonde's eyes widened when she saw Angelica leap into the air above her. The massive mouse looked like it was about to body slam her.
You're shitting me. That thing wasn't a doll,
Lucy exclaimed, as she tried to run away. But Lucy's legs immediately gave out, and she collapsed to the ground.
Shit. My legs are like gelatin right now. What am I gonna do? Unable to think of anything, Lucy closed her eyes and waited for Angelica to crush her.
But a loud slashing sound caused Lucy to peek open an eye. The first thing Lucy spotted was head of flowing scarlet hair. Fully opening her eyes, the blonde saw Urza standing in front of her. The night sword was drawn, while a defeated Angelica lay by her side.
Urza!
Lucy exclaimed, as a massive smile spread across her face. However, Lucy shut up when she saw the look on Urza's face. The scarlet-haired woman seemed to be extremely upset.
That's right. We've broken the guild's rules by taking on an S-class quest by ourselves. Lucy flinched in fear, as Urza walked towards her. The blonde was quite surprised when Urza extended her arm for Lucy to grab. Are you okay, Lucy?
Urza asked, pulling the blonde onto her feet.
The redhead's expression quickly changed from one of anger to one of concern.
Then, like a worried mother, Urza began to search Lucy for any injuries.
You aren't hurt, are you? I am fine, Urza,
Lucy said, barely able to hide the surprise in her voice. Suddenly Lucy hung her head in shame.
You're here to take us back, aren't you?
However, Lucy was completely caught off guard when Urza pulled her in for a hug.
I'm glad you're all right, Lucy. I was so worried about you and Natsu, Urza said in a shaky voice, holding onto Lucy tightly. I came here to keep your dumb asses safe. Thanks, Urza,
Lucy said in a shocked tone, as Urza released her from the hug.
Lucy, you're safe.
Happy cheered, as he flew towards the blonde. But Happy stopped dead in his tracks when he saw Urza.
Immediately Happy spun around, and began to fly the other way.
But he was stopped when Urza grabbed onto his tail.
Don't worry, Happy, I'm not mad at you guys,
Urza said, causing Happy to release a sigh of relief.
Now, where's Natsu?
I don't know, Lucy replied, as she clenched her fists. We got separated during the fight, but we have to help the people on this island, Urza.
There are some mages here that are trying to revive a frozen demon called Deliora.
And the villagers are suffering because of this.
Lots of awful things are happening here.
Lucy bit her bottom lip as she glanced away nervously.
We want to save this island somehow.
Alright, as long as I'm here I might as well help you guys finish your mission, Urza said, causing Lucy's eyes to light up.
You will?
Lucy exclaimed, earning a nod from the scarlet-haired woman.
Thank you, Urza. Okay, lead me to where the village is. We can find Natsu later,
Urza said, as Lucy began to lead them through the jungle.
The next morning.
Ugh! Gray groaned, as his eyes slowly fluttered open. The ice mage was surprised to find himself inside of a tent. Rising to his feet, Gray made his way out of the tent.
When he lifted the tent flap, Gray was surprised to see a large tent city surrounding him. Where am I? Oh great, you're awake.
Gray turned his head to see a dark-haired girl smiling at him.
Don't be surprised.
This is a storage area a short distance away from the village. But since our village was destroyed last night, we're all taking shelter here.
The village.
Gray's eyes widened as he remembered Lion's words from the previous night.
Vanished?
Gray cringed in pain as he clutched a hand over his heart.
Lion, he really did it. But thanks to Natsu-san and Lucy-san, no one was injured,
the girl said, causing Gray's eyes to widen.
They're here too?
Gray asked, as he began to scan around the camp for his fellow guild members.
Yes, they asked you go to their tent once you awoke,
the girl said, pointing to a tent behind her. Gray followed where the girl was pointing and entered the tent she was pointing to. Lifting the flap, Gray was surprised to see Urza with an annoyed look on her face. Turning his head, Gray spotted Lucy and Happy sitting off to the side, avoiding his gaze.
Urza's hands were clasped on her lap as she glared at Gray. Urza? What are you doing here?
Gray screeched as he recoiled in fear. The ice mage gulped loudly, breaking out in a cold sweat.
Lucy told me everything, Gray,
Urza said in an icy tone as her glare hardened.
I thought you were supposed to bring Natsu and Lucy back,
not help them continue this extremely dangerous mission. Urza let out a light sigh and closed her eyes.
Honestly, I'm disappointed in you, Gray. Where's Natsu?
Gray asked as he glanced around the tent.
That's what I'd like to know,
Urza said, not even trying to hide the worry in her voice.
We haven't seen a trace of him. Lucy, do you know what happened to Natsu?
Gray asked, earning a deep sigh from the blonde.
I honestly have no idea where he is,
Lucy replied, as she unconsciously started clenching and unclenching her fists. Gray also noticed that Lucy sounded rather worried about the pink-haired dragon slayer's well-being.
He was fighting with some of Riaiti's men, and we got separated. We found the mages defeated, but Natsu was nowhere to be found.
After that Urza told us to take her to where you were. How did you find this place? Gray asked, quirking a dark eyebrow. I just found out that this was a storage area for the village. Happy and I found it when we were searching through the air. Lucy answered, as she turned her gaze to the floor. Natsu likely has no idea where this place is. Which means he's probably wandering around with no idea where to go. Urza said, standing onto her feet. The knight turned to Gray, as she equipped a sword into her hand. Gray, we're going to find Natsu, let's go. Urza. Gray breathed out, as he clenched his hand around the blade of Urza's sword, surprising the scarlet-haired knight. Urza's eyes widened when she saw blood dripping from Gray's hand. After we find Natsu, I'm continuing this mission. I don't care what you say. You can do whatever you want. But this is what I choose. I just gotta do what I gotta do. Gray released Urza's sword, and started to make his way out of the tent. That's a great speech, Gray, but... Urza tried to say, but Gray cut her off. I'll do what I want until the end. Gray said, turning his head to look at Urza. Cut me down if you want. Again, that was a nice speech, Gray, but I never said I was gonna try and stop you. Urza said in a confused tone, causing Gray's eyes to widen. In fact, I was planning on helping you guys finish this mission. What? Gray exclaimed, as his face burned red in embarrassment. So I made that awesome and inspiring speech for no reason. Gray's face burned even brighter when he heard Lucy and Happy start giggling. Just then Gray felt a throb of pain come from his hand. Looking down, Gray saw that his hand was still heavily bleeding. And I fucked up my hand for no damn reason too? God, I'm really glad I came now. Urza said with a sigh, as she began to bandage up Gray's bleeding hand. You three would be dead right now if hadn't shown up. I can't believe Gray cut up his hand for no reason. Happy exclaimed, as he burst out laughing. Happy! Urza exclaimed, silencing the blue cat immediately. Don't make fun of Gray. He made a very courageous and inspiring gesture. A small smile spread across Urza's face, as she finished wrapping Gray's bandages. Now, let's go find our idiotic dragon slayer. Temple, near the center of Galuna Island. Shit, I had thought of such a good idea. Natsu muttered to himself, as he rubbed the sleep out of his eyes. But I slept way too long. A determined grin spread across Natsu's face, as he looked at the temple before him. Well then, let's do this. In the center of the temple, Lion sat on a large stone throne. In front of him stood a very sheepish-looking Toby. The dogman had just finished retelling the previous night's events to Lion, and the ice mage looked rather annoyed to hear that his men had been defeated. This is unbelievable. Lion said, crossing his arm over his chest. Are you really the only one left? Toby broke out in a cold sweat, as he slowly nodded his head. Fairy tale, they're pretty good. Please don't tell Sherry and Yuka that I paralyzed myself. Toby said, hanging his head in shame. Deliora's revival could be completed now. The masked man said, as he entered the chamber. You're here too, Zalti? Lion asked, raising a silver eyebrow. Tonight. The moon's magical power will be at its highest, and Deliora will be revived. Zalti said with a wicked smirk. But if anyone gets in the way of the moon drip ritual, Deliora will stay encased in ice forever. This is getting out of hand. Lion said, as a frown spread across his face. I should have just taken care of them myself. Your opponents are the fabled Salamander and Titania. They're two of Fairy Tale's strongest and most famous mages. Zalti explained, causing Lion to chuckle under his breath. As always, you're quick with your info. Lion said, as he leaned forward in his seat. But they're no match for me. With my ice blades that surpass you are, I'll cut them to shreds. I like your confidence. Zalti said with a toothy grin. So, I will join you in this upcoming battle? Wait. You can fight? Toby shouted with a shocked look on his face. Yes, a bit of lost magic. Zalti replied with a dark chuckle.
Man, that guy's creepy. Lion said under his breath, avoiding Zolty's masked gaze.
Suddenly the room started shaking violently. Rubble and debris fell from the walls and ceiling. Statues and pillars began to crumble throughout the room.
Is it an earthquake? Toby asked, as the room continued to shake. This is.
Lion started to say just as a large hole collapsed in the center of the room that led to the bottom of the temple. An extremely loud crash rang throughout the temple, as the room began to tilt to on its side.
No! The temple is being tilted. Looks as if he's already started.
Zolty said cryptically, as a smirk spread across his face.
Why don't you both look down there? Zolty pointed to the large hole in the floor.
Lion and Toby raced over to the hole, and were shocked to see what they saw.
What? No! Not Kim!
Toby shouted, as he spotted the familiar pink-haired at the bottom of the hole.
Man, things break so easily when you don't want them to. Natsu said, as he wiped excess sparks of electricity from his mouth.
But when I want to break something, it's a giant pain in the ass.
You bastard! Lion said, leveling a harsh glare on the dragon slayer below. What's the meaning of all this? The ruins are tilted, aren't they?
Natsu asked, as he cracked his knuckles, causing sparks to dance across his hands.
Now the moon's light won't reach the demon down below. What the hell did you do?
Lion growled out, gritting his teeth as he began to fill with rage.
Fairy tale.
It appears that he's tilted the entire temple.
Zolty said in an amused tone.
He must have destroyed half of the pillars supporting this temple, so that it would tip over on its side.
That means moonlight won't reach Deliora. A delighted smirk spread across Zolty's face. You're much smarter than you look. Shut the hell up!
Natsu exclaimed, as his legs became engulfed in a flurry of fire.
Flames around his legs? Lion asked, quirking an eyebrow.
However, Lion gasped when Natsu suddenly rocketed towards him, the flames around his legs propelling him upwards at incredible speed. All the air left Lion's lung when Natsu headbutted him in the stomach, lifting the ice mage into the air.
However, Natsu was surprised when Lion shattered into chunks of ice. Over here.
Spinning around, Natsu's eyes widened when he saw a flock of ice-birds flying towards him.
You can't dodge these in midair, can you?
Natsu gathered flames into his mouth, and fired the stream of fire at the ceiling. The flames quickly forced the dragon slayer downwards, causing Lion's ice eagles to fly over him.
Sorry, you dick. But I can.
The pink-haired dragon slayer smirked, as he stood on his hands.
Seconds later, flames began to shoot out of Natsu's legs.
The dragon slayer swung his legs around, spreading his flames around the room. Such destructive magic! Lion exclaimed, as he dodged the raging flames that coated the room. As another wave of flames swept across the room, Lion jumped into the air to dodge them.
Let's see you dodge this in the air, asshat!
Natsu exclaimed, as his cheeks bulged with lightning.
Lightning dragon's roar! A thunderclap echoed throughout the room, as a streak of lightning shot towards Lion. No, you don't!
Zolty exclaimed, extending his hand. Instantly, the ground beneath Natsu began to decay and collapse.
Why am I always fucking falling?
Natsu shouted, as fell through several of the temple's floors.
My, you sure are a lucky man, Ryidai-sama.
Zolty said with a smirk.
What did you do, Zolty? Lion asked, landing back onto his feet. Pardon?
Zolty replied in a confused tone, his smirk still spread across his face.
Don't act stupid, your magic crumbled the floor, didn't it?
Lion asked, causing Zolty to chuckle slightly.
You're very observant, Ryidai-sama, you saw right through me.
Zolty said, tilting his head slightly.
But please understand, I can't lose you until Deliora is revived. You think I'll die from such weak flames? Lion asked, as he clenched his fists.
Ice magic flooded the room, freezing the floor and most of the walls. Lion turned to Zolty, and glared at the masked man.
You and Toby get lost.
I'll take care of this nuisance myself. I'm going to kick the shit out of whoever did that. Natsu grunted, as he lifted himself out of the hole he had fell through. I, Lion Reiti, am the only mage who can defeat Deliora. Lion said in a dark tone, as he glared at the pink-haired dragon slayer. It would be a disgrace to my name if I couldn't beat this nosy brat. My things are heating up. Zalti said with a grin, backing away from Lion. Defeat Deliora? Natsu parroted in a confused tone, as he finished climbing out of the hole. He's pretty much defeated already. You'd waste all this time and effort to thaw out Deliora, just to fight it? Man, you're one weird dude. I'm doing all this to surpass you are. Lion said, as Ice Mage gathered in his hands. Raising his arm, a barrage of ice eagles flew towards Natsu. And continue dreaming. Then why don't you just fight UR directly? Natsu asked, doing his best to dodge the ice eagles. UR is dead already, you fool. Lion replied, causing Natsu's eyes to widen. Gray's words from earlier ran through Natsu's mind. Deliora is a demon, my magic teacher, UR, sealed at the cost of her own life. So he meant she died. Natsu said, as another wave of ice eagles flew towards him. It's all because of Gray. Lion screamed, launching another ice eagle directly at the dragon slayer. Because he was occupied with the other ice eagles, Natsu didn't notice the newest one until the last moment. Reacting quickly, Natsu raised his arm to block the frozen bird. The ice eagle smashed into Natsu's arm, creating a small explosion of ice. I don't know what happened in the past, Natsu said, as blood began to drip down his arm. But there are a lot of people who are suffering because of what you're doing here. It's time for you to snap out of it. Natsu released a growl as his fists became engulfed in lightning. With some electroshock therapy. With Gray, Urza, Lucy, and Happy, Lion intends to defeat Deliora? Lucy exclaimed, as Urza and her followed closely behind Gray. Lion has been aiming to surpass UR for a long time. Gray explained, as he raced through the jungle. Now that UR is gone, he's trying to surpass her by defeating Deliora, something she couldn't do. I see, Lucy said in a quiet tone. In order to surpass the dead, that'd be the only way. No. He just doesn't know. Gray said, clenching his teeth together. UR did disappear, but she's still alive. No way. Happy exclaimed in a shocked tone. What do you mean, Gray? Urza asked, surprised by this new revelation. What happened in the past? It all happened 10 years ago. Gray said with a sigh, as he recalled his travels with UR and Lion. Urza and Lucy couldn't help but feel saddened when the Ice Mage retold the story of how UR sealed Deliora using iced shell. Gray, I'm sorry that had to happen, Urza said, as the temple came into view. Yeah, I'm sorry you had to go through that, Gray, Lucy said, feeling tears begin to form in her eyes. Save your apologies, Gray said, as he turned to face his friends. There is nothing either of you could have done. It's in the past now. We have to stop Lion. Right, let's find Natsu and take care of Lion, Urza said, re-equipping a sword into her hand. Urza's right, we have a dragon slayer to help, Lucy exclaimed with a grin, as she grabbed a hold of her whip. Then let's go find the flame brain, Gray said with a smile, just as an explosion shocked the entire temple. Actually, he shouldn't be too hard to find. With Lion and Natsu. Shit. This guy is tougher than I thought, Natsu thought, as he dodged another series of ice spikes. The dragon slayer gathered lightning in both his hands. With lightning in my left hand, and lightning in my right hand, when you combine them together. Natsu slapped his hands together, causing a large ball of electricity to form. Lightning Dragon's brilliant flash. A deafening thunderclap, and blinding flash of light, disoriented Lion as Natsu threw the ball of lightning at him. Lion quickly leaped out of the ball of lightning's path. However, Natsu had planned for this, and was already behind Lion. You fell for it. Fire Dragon's Claw. Natsu's flaming foot slammed into Lion's back, sending him crashing into the ground. But Natsu cursed under his breath when Lion burst into pieces of ice. Damn it! This brat is better than I thought he'd be. Lion cursed, as he landed back in front of Natsu. Before either mage could make a move, they were caught off guard when the ice on the wall to their right began to crack and break apart. What's going on? Natsu asked just as the wall of ice collapsed. Both Natsu and Lion were shocked to see Gray walk into the room. Ice Princess? When did you wake up? Natsu, let me take care of him. Gray said, glaring at his former fellow student. But he kicked your ass last time. Natsu complained, crossing his arms over his chest. There won't be a next time. This is it. Gray said, as he continued to glare at Lion. You have such confidence, Gray. Lion said, returning Gray's glare. It's my fault you are died 10 years ago, but I can't forgive you, for hurting my nakama, the village, and trying to melt the ice encasing Deliora. Gray said, crossing his arms making an X sign. His right arm was above his left arm with his right palm facing down and his left palm is facing up. Instantly a large magic circle formed underneath Gray's feet. We shall both receive punishment, Lion. That pose? Lion exclaimed, as his eyes widened in shock. Iced shell? Iced shell? Natsu quietly parroted, the words ringing in his head. You are cast a magic called Iced Shell on this demon. It's a demon that me magic teacher, you are, sealed at the cost of her own life. You are as dead already, you fool. Natsu's eyes widened, as he stared at Gray. Don't tell me he intends to. Have you gone mad? Lion exclaimed, as he took a fearful step back. Return the people of this island back to normal, then take your comrades and leave. Gray ordered, narrowing his eyes at Lion. This is your last chance. Oh, I see now. Lion said as a smirk spread across his face. That spell was just a threat, how ridiculous. Before Lion could utter another word, a massive wave of ice magic exploded off Gray. Ice magic flowed around Gray's body. An icy wind whipped throughout the room that pushed Natsu and Lion back. I'm dead serious. Gray said with a look that proved he wasn't kidding. Why you? Lion exclaimed, as ice magic gathered in his hand. But before he could attack, another burst of ice magic pulsed off Gray. The wave of magic sent Lion flying back, and made Natsu shield his eyes from the intense winds. The fact that you are died because of me will never change. Regardless of how many years go by. Gray said, as his body began to freeze over in preparation for his attack. I need to take responsibility one way or another. Lion and Natsu's eyes widened at Gray's words. The time has come, Lion. I'm prepared to die. You can't be serious. Lion exclaimed, as he stood back onto his feet. You will answer me, Lion. Gray yelled, ice magic continuing to whirl and cascade around him. Do we die together, or live together? Do it. Lion said, as a maniacal smirk spread across his face. You don't have the guts to die. Lion. Gray said, shutting his eyes and shaking his head. You disappoint me. The ice magic surrounding Gray began to increase in speed and intensity. This is the end. Lion's eyes widened when 6 magic circles formed around him. Iced. However, before Gray could complete the spell, he received a harsh punch to the face. Lion's eyes widened, as his heart beat erratically in his chest. Looking to see who attacked him, Gray was surprised to see Natsu standing over him, panting heavily. Natsu! Don't just run on in here and start rambling on about responsibility and all that other bullshit. Natsu said in an annoyed tone. This is my fight, Ice Princess. I'm gonna take out this asshole. What? I asked you to let me take care of it. Gray exclaimed, as a scowl spread across his face. Yeah, and did I ever say sure, go right ahead? Natsu asked, earning a growl from Gray. The Dragon Slayer grinned at Gray's sudden anger. What? Did I make the little princess mad? You gonna attack me now?
I have to end this shit between me and Lion. Gray shouted, grabbing a hold of Natsu's scarf. The Dragon Slayer seemed unfazed by Gray suddenly grabbing him. Even if it means I have to die for it.
Gray winced when Natsu grabbed onto his arm, and squeezed so tightly that veins bulged in his hand.
So you're gonna end this by dying, huh? Natsu asked in a cold tone.
His eyes were full of rage as he glared at Gray.
Stop running away like a little bitch.
Gray let out a shaky breath as he stared at Natsu with wide eyes. Before Gray had a chance to speak, the entire temple began to shake once again.
What the hell is going on?
Outside the temple, Lucy and Urza had just finished taking out most of Lion's henchmen when they hear the commotion.
What's that sound? Urza asked, turning to face the temple behind them. No.
Lucy breathed out, as her eyes widened in fear. The temple was no longer on its side, and was back to its normal position.
The temple isn't tilted anymore. Oh, come on! Natsu exclaimed, stomping his foot onto the ground. Now the moon's light will reach Deliora.
Gray said, as he grit his teeth.
I'm sorry to disturb you.
Zalti said, as he re-entered the room. The sun will be setting soon, so I returned the temple back to its normal position.
Zalti, that was you? Lion asked in a surprised tone. You son of a bitch.
It took me so long to tilt this temple. Natsu exclaimed, as he glared at the masked man.
How did you do that?
The masked man simply chuckled at Natsu's question.
Don't laugh, you bastard. How did you do that?
I'm going to go start the moon drip ritual. Zalti said, as he ran out of the room.
Natsu's eyes filled with fury at being ignored by the masked man. However, Natsu's eyes widened as a scent hit his nose. Wait, this scent.
That guy smells familiar. Natsu thought, as he tried to remember the scent.
I know that scent. I've met that guy somewhere before. All right. Bring it on, you masked bastard. Natsu roared, as he began to chase after Zalti. I will find out who you are. Natsu!
Gray exclaimed, reaching out to the pink-haired dragon slayer.
I'm gonna give that guy a million whoopings.
Natsu shouted, as he turned to look at Gray.
You stay and take care of Lion. And don't disgrace Fairy Tail's name. I know.
Gray said, as he turned back around to face Lion.
Asterisk psi asterisk, are you all this noisy? Lion asked, shaking his head. Earlier, when I was about to use iced shell on you, did you expect Natsu to stop me?
Gray questioned, causing a small smile to spread across Lion's face.
No.
I never imagined he would get near the spell. Lion replied, as he crossed his arms over his chest.
So you were going to take it? Gray continued his questioning with a skeptical look. Yes. Lion answered, nodding his head.
But I figured that I'd be rescued somehow.
That's why I told you to use iced shell. As large smirk suddenly spread across Lion's face. Even if you'd encased me in ice, I still have my comrades.
And we're on the island where iced shell can be melted with moondrip.
Damn it, I was too rash. Gray cursed under his breath. Iced shell is completely useless here. So do you still intend to fight me? Lion asked with an amused look. You do know that you can never defeat M-. Let's stop this.
Gray said, causing Lion's eyes to widen in shock.
Please, give up on Deliora. What is this nonsense you're spewing now? Lion asked with a light chuckle. First a threat, now you're trying to persuade me? Lion, listen to me.
Gray said, his body going rigid as he prepared for what he was about to say.
You is alive.
Lion's eyes slowly widened, as this new revelation sunk in.
Iced shell is a spell that transforms the caster's body into ice. The ice that is sealing Deliora, the ice you've been trying to melt, is actually you are.
Lion inhaled sharply, as he continued to stare unbelievingly at Gray.
You is alive, as the ice. Gray had an ashamed look, as he hung his head.
I'm so sorry for not telling you this sooner, but I promised you are. Gray. Lion said in a dark tone. His silver hair hiding his, as he hung his head. The ice mage slowly began to walk towards Gray. Lion, let's just say dash. Gray never got to finish, as he suddenly felt something pierce his stomach. Coughing up blood, Gray looked down and was shocked to see an ice sword impaled through his stomach. Turning his head, Gray saw that Lion had an evil smirk on his face. I already know all that, Gray. Lion whispered into Gray's ear. You're just wasting your breath. That's not you are anymore. It's just ice scraps now. Gray gasped in pain when Lion yanked the ice sword out of his stomach. As soon as the sword was free, Gray collapsed to the ground. Why you knew? Gray asked, clutching his profusely bleeding wound. Don't tell me you seriously believed that you was still alive, right? Lion said, as he watched Gray writhe in pain. Grow up already. You knew it, but still did this. Gray rasped out, as rage filled his body. With Natsu and Zalti. Wait up! You masked bastard! Natsu yelled, as he caused Zalti through the temple. Who are you? Zalti raised his arm, and the ceiling above Natsu began to collapse. This won't stop me. Natsu quickly destroyed the falling debris with a flaming kick. Zalti waved his hand once again, and the debris surrounding Natsu began to repair the ceiling. What the? As you can see, I repaired the temple like this. Zalti said with a wide smirk. What was that magic? Natsu asked, as he watched the ceiling fix itself. A type of lost magic. It's a magic that was erased from history, because of its incredible power and the gravity of its side effects. Zalti explained, as Natsu turned to face him again. Just like your magic, Dragon Slayer. History? Natsu parroted, but the pink-haired Dragon Slayer's eyes widened when he saw that the masked man was gone. He disappeared. Where did he go? Natsu released a slight growl, as he scanned around the room. I know that scent from somewhere. I will unmask you. Back with Gray and Lion. Well, I'm going to assist Zalti, and finish the moondrip ceremony. Lion said with an evil smile, as he began to turn away from Gray. Have fun bleeding out. But before Lion could leave, Gray lunged forward, and hit Lion with a powerful punch. Lion was sent skidding back, as blood poured from his nose. Impossible. Lion spat, coming to a stop. How can you move with that injury? I'm sick of this. Gray breathed out, causing a confused look to spread across Lion's face. I wanted to save you, but now I'm sick of your shit. Gray instantly formed a bow out of ice, and prepared 3 arrows. Before Lion could even think of dodging, the 3 arrows hit him in the chest. Lion was sent tumbling back by the force of the arrows. But Gray didn't let up. Charging forward, Gray kicked Lion in the stomach, knocking the wind out of Lion. Gray then grabbed Lion by the front of his shirt, and punched him again. The punch sent Lion crashing into the wall. I can't be bleeding. Lion struggled to say, as he fought to stand back on his feet. Because of Gray. A furious look formed on Lion's face, as he raised his arm. Ice make, snow dragon. The room began to shake, as a massive dragon made out of ice flew towards Gray. The ice dragon caught Gray in between its large jaws. Gray grunted in pain when the ice dragon slammed him into the ground. I don't want to waste my magical power on you. After this, I have to be prepared for my battle with Deliora. I won't let you. Gray grunted out, as he lifted himself back onto his knees. Just stop struggling already, Deliora will be revived in no time. Lion said with an evil laugh. No one can stop it now. I will stop it. Gray said, glaring at Lion. You say that even though Zalti is taking care of the moondrip ritual. Lion said with a cocky attitude. Will you beg for mercy now? Don't underestimate Natsu. Gray said, as a large grin spread across his face. Deliora's chamber. It's time. Zalti said, approaching the still frozen Deliora. I finally found you. Zolty quickly spun around to see Natsu's body engulfed in flames as he shot towards him.
"Show me your damn face."
"Oh ho, what a strange thing to say," Zolty said as he dodged the Dragon Slayer's attack. Natsu crashed into the ground where Zolty had been, causing a cloud of dust and debris to kick up.
"But how did you find me? My sense of smell is amazing," Natsu replied, tapping his nose. "And I know I've caught your scent before."
"I know you're a woman, so you might as well take off that ridiculous disguise."
You're much smarter than you appear, Natsu Dragneel,"
Zolty said as he took off his mask. Natsu's eyes widened when he saw that Zolty was the dark-haired woman he had seen next to Seagrain when he had went to the council. A playful smirk spread across the woman's face when she saw Natsu's surprised expression.
"Oh, you seemed rather shocked to see me. You're that woman that was standing next to Seagrain,"
Natsu exclaimed as he pointed at the woman.
"What's your name? I don't really have time to play with you, Dragon Boy,"
the dark-haired woman said as she turned to look at Deliora.
"I really have to revive Deliora, you see." "Well, don't even bother. It's too late," Natsu said with a confident grin. "Oh, and why is that?"
the dark-haired woman asked with an amused look.
"Gray will take care of Lion. And I will defeat you," Natsu said with determination in his voice. "And that's the end of it." "Is that so?"
the woman asked as she watched a sliver of purple light pour in from the ceiling.
Natsu's eyes widened when he turned around to see purple light hitting Deliora. The light?"
Natsu exclaimed as he looked up at the ceiling.
"Is someone performing the ritual up there?"
Up on top of the temple, Toby was chanting and bowing as he solely performed the moon drip ritual.
"The moon drip's effect is rather weak with only one worshipper,"
the woman explained with a small smirk. "But to tell you the truth, we already have enough moonlight." To prove her point, the ice encasing Deliora began to melt.
It's starting, I see." "Oh fuck!"
Natsu exclaimed as he watched the ice begin to melt.
"Deliora's ice is beginning to melt." The pink-haired Dragon Slayer quickly spun around and started to run out of the room. "Shit! I fucked up. I gotta go take out that guy up top." Natsu let up a yelp when the ground underneath him suddenly collapsed. "You made me fall again." Natsu glared up at the dark-haired woman. "I'm going to kill you. I can't have you running away,"
the woman said as Natsu crawled out of the hole.
"How about this, Natsukuan? If you can beat me, I'll tell you my name." "Shit,"
Natsu said under his breath as he turned to look at Deliora. The demon was melting rather quickly, but the woman wouldn't let Natsu leave to stop the ritual.
"Fine, but you better hold your end of the bargain."
Natsu raced forward and swung a flaming fist at the woman.
"Do you think it's wise to your Fire Dragon Slayer magic under these circumstances?"
the woman asked as she jumped away from Natsu's attack.
"You're only accelerating the melting process. I thought you'd want the ice to melt faster, no?"
Natsu asked as the flames surrounding him roared brighter and stronger.
"I know that my flames can't melt that ice. So I'm gonna take care of you as quickly as possible, and then take out that guy up top."
You're full of surprises, Natsukuan," the woman complimented with a small smile. "Your quick reflexes and flexibility while fighting are very impressive."
"Back with Gray and Lion. The ruins are shaking again,"
Gray observed as he stood across from Lion.
Both ice mages were bloodied and battered from their ongoing fight.
"The moon drip ritual has started,"
Lion said with a victorious smirk. "Deliora's ice is melting as we speak."
Gray's eyes widened as he thought of his teacher's ice melting away.
"I guess this it. You couldn't stop us."
"How long I've waited for this day, for 10 long years I've gathered knowledge and recruited comrades.
I eventually learned of this place,"
Lion explained as a flock of ice eagles began to circle around him.
"Galuna Island, where the moonlight gathers."
The ice eagles suddenly shot forward and began to pelt Gray.
"We transported Deliora here from Brago. That was almost 3 years ago.
So you've wasted 3 years of your life on such a ridiculous thing. Gray said, as he sent out a burst of ice magic that destroyed the remaining ice eagles.
Ridiculous?
Lion parroted, as his eyes filled with outrage.
How can you say that, when you've been playing around in some guild for 10 years?
Gray covered his head, to block a large piece of ice dropped by Lion.
I just believed in UR's words.
Gray said, as ice debris fell around him. If you head to Western countries you'd find tons of mages stronger than me.
Fairy Tale is where I wound up. Gray said, locking eyes with Lion.
UR was right, there are some incredibly strong mages there.
I couldn't believe the power of some of them.
Gray closed his eyes as he remembered the first time he had asked Makarov about Iced Shell.
That can't be done. Iced Shell is created from the caster's own will. No other magic is capable of melting its ice. But you have so many amazing mages here.
There is one method.
But you cannot do it.
Melting that ice practically means killing this UR person you've told me of.
Now that I think about it, G-san was probably talking about Moondrip.
Gray said, leveling anger-filled eyes on Lion. I'm really disappointed to learn that my senior wants to do something that'll kill UR.
Whatever. Lion said with an amused look. I've been looking forward to this day for years.
Lion charged towards Gray with a tiger made out of ice encasing his arm.
Now that UR is dead, think carefully of how we, her left-behind pupils, will surpass her. With Deliora. I will surpass UR by defeating Deliora, which is the one thing she couldn't do.
Lion launched the ice tiger at Gray, but he quickly dodged it. Your aspirations are admirable, but you failed to notice that you've taken the wrong path.
How can someone so blind try to surpass UR? Gray shouted in an angry tone.
You're 100 years too early for that. Gray formed a sword made of ice, and slashed at Lion.
Because he was so close, Lion was unable to dodge the attack. Gray's ice sword swiped across Lion's stomach. But like with Natsu, Lion crumbled into a pile of ice. Ice make. Gray spun around to see Lion above him. Snow Tiger.
A massive tiger made out of ice, that filled a large portion of the room, towered over Gray. When the ice beast swiped its sharp claws at Gray, the ice mage jumped over its attack.
Ice make, prison. A large ice cage fell to the ground, trapping Lion's ice tiger. Is that all you've got, Lion?
What a pitiful creature.
Ridiculous.
I'll just crush your molding magic. Lion said, as his ice tiger tried, and failed, to smash out of Gray's ice prison.
One-handed molding magic is unbalanced. Gray said, landing back onto the ground.
That's why you're not capable of using your full power at crucial times. Gray punched his fist into his palm, as large amount of ice magic gathered around him.
Ice make, cannon.
Gray fired a massive ice projectile from the launcher that hit Leon square in the chest. Lion roared in pain, as he was sent crashing into the wall behind him. The ice mage had impacted the wall so hard that it collapsed.
That's what UR taught us.
White Lion managed to say before he coughed up a large amount of blood.
Letting out one last gargled breath, Lion fell backwards, defeated. Gah!
Gray exclaimed, as his sword wound from before suddenly began to bleed heavily again.
The dark-haired ice mage panted, as he froze over his injury.
Shit, I should have stopped the bleeding first. Suddenly a deafening roar echoed throughout the entire island. That roar, I can never forget it.
Deliora.
Lion breathed out, as he stared up at the ceiling.
Shit, it's been revived. Gray thought, tightly clenching his fists. I've got no choice, I'll have to use Iced Shell. In Deliora's chamber. My fucking ears.
Natsu yelled over the thunderous roar, his ears starting to ring.
I going to go deaf. Natsu's eyes widened when Deliora completely broke out of the ice next to him. Fuck. There it is.
The woman exclaimed with a delighted look.
It's finally here. In another part of the temple, Lucy and Happy were still searching for Natsu and Gray.
Their search had led them towards the top level of the temple. That roar, could it be the Deliora demon you've told me about? Urza asked, turning to face Lucy. No. It can't be, it's been revived already? Lucy exclaimed in a fearful tone, her eyes widening. Guys! It's the light from before! Happy exclaimed, pointing to some purple light that was pouring in from the ceiling. It's moon drip! Just then another deafening roar shook the temple. Again! Urza said, rubbing her chin. We heard Deliora's roar, but the moon drip ritual is still going on. Meaning Deliora isn't fully revived yet. Urza's eyes widened as she suddenly started pulling Lucy towards the nearest staircase. Come on, we have to move. Wait, Urza. Deliora is way below us. Lucy pointed out, as she continued to be pulled by the scarlet-haired knight. If we stop the ritual, we can still stop the revival. Urza explained, as he raced up the stairs with Lucy in tow. We have to hurry. Back in Deliora's, Natsu cursed under his breath for taking so long to defeat the dark-haired woman. All right. Enough wasting time. Natsu exclaimed, as he engulfed his body in flames. Here I come. But before Natsu could attack, he had to dodge a crystal ball that was shot towards him. The crystal ball missed the dragon slayer, but it bounced off the wall and came right back at him. Dodging again, the crystal ball returned to the dark-haired woman. I was thinking the same thing, Natsukuan. The woman said, as she waved her arm. Once again the crystal orb shot towards Natsu. Enough! Natsu roared, catching the crystal orb single-handed. The woman's eyes widened when she saw the dragon slayer crush her crystal ball with his bare hands. I'm sick of your bullshit. My Natsukuan, you just keep impressing me. The woman said with a small smile, as she flicked her wrist. The destroyed crystal orb at Natsu's feet reformed, and shot up at him. I said enough. Natsu yelled, as he caught the orb once again. The dragon slayer cocked his arm back, lightning sparking off his entire arm. How's it taste of your own medicine? Natsu charged the orb with electricity, and hurled it at the woman. With its new electrical charge, the orb reached the woman in a blink of an eye. Despite its incredible speed, the woman managed to dodge the orb's full force. Quickly jumping to the right, the orb merely nicked the woman's arm. The orb crashed into the wall, and shattered to pieces once again. However, the woman waved her hand, and the orb returned to her good as new. Damn it, that thing fixed itself again. I can manipulate an object's time. The woman explained, rubbing her grazed arm. Meaning I returned the crystal back to a time before it was broken. Time! Natsu exclaimed with a confused look on his face. That's impossible. Arc of time is a lost magic. The woman said with a smirk. Why don't we move the crystal's time into the future? Suddenly the crystal disappeared from the woman's hand. A sudden whooshing sound alerted Natsu that the orb was behind him. Coating his hand in flames, Natsu destroyed the crystal orb. Useless. The woman said, as the orb reformed midair, striking Natsu in the gut. The orb began to fly around Natsu, but when he went to destroy it again, the orb stopped in its place. It stopped? Natsu said, quirking a pink eyebrow. Indeed, I can even stop the orb's time. The woman explained, as Natsu peered into the crystal ball. I'm guessing this magic of yours doesn't work on humans. Natsu observes, earning a chuckle from the dark-haired woman. A plus, Natsukuan, you're on fire right now. The woman said with smirk. My magic doesn't work on any living creature, to be exact. That's why I can't undo the ice, because it's actually you are. I don't get you at all. Natsu said, earning a confused look from the woman. You want to revive Deliora so Lion can defeat it. It's Lion's idea, so it's okay for him, but what would his comrades gain? No idea. The woman replied with a shrug. I just joined the group recently. And what about you? What is your objective? Don't you work for the council? Natsu questioned, pointing at the woman.
Oh, you're just too smart, Natsukuin. I'm not here on council business. I alternative motives. The woman replied with a small grin. Righty-sama, I mean, that brat is no match for Deliora. He can't defeat it. But that's terrible. Are you gonna try to defeat it? Natsu asked, causing the woman to chuckle. I'm afraid not, Natsukuin. The woman smiled as she looked at Deliora. I want to make the demon mine. Natsu's eyes widened at this new information. Even though it's an immortal demon, there are ways to manipulate it. Wouldn't it be amazing to have Deliora under my command? Meh, sounds stupid to me. Natsu said with a slight shrug. I kinda wasted my time asking. I thought that maybe you had a burning passion to accomplish something, and you just don't understand yet. The woman said, turning her back to Natsu. But there are times when you'll need power. When that time is upon us, I'll just trust my nakama and my own power. Natsu said, igniting his fist in bright flames. An image of all his nakama appeared in Natsu's mind, with Lucy, Urza, and Mira Jane standing at the front of the group. The power of us, fairy tale mages. Vanity will destroy you. The woman said, as she raised her arm towards the ceiling. Ceiling, accelerate thy time and crumble. The ceiling above Natsu began to collapse towards the ground. Each and every one of you, wrecking this island for the stupidest reasons ever. Natsu roared, as a vein bulged on his forehead. I've had enough of all of you. Natsu's legs became surrounded in flames, as he rocketed towards the woman. Let's see if my arc of time can extinguish those harsh flames. The woman said, as a volley of debris shot towards Natsu. You're leaving this island now. Natsu exclaimed, as he launched a wall of blinding fire at the debris. When the fire and smoke cleared, the woman was surprised to see that Natsu was gone. He's not here. The woman exclaimed in shock, as she began to search around the room. I can manipulate time as well, you bitch. Natsu yelled, as he appeared on the ceiling above the woman. I can control the future. I'll send you flying in a second. Natsu cocked a flaming fist back. Fire Dragon's Iron Fist. Natsu's flaming fist connected with the woman's stomach, sending her flying backwards. I expect to learn your name real soon. Natsu said, as a triumphant grin spread across his face. On the temple's roof, Urza had raced forward, and quickly dispatched Toby. The dogman lay in a heap on the ground, nursing his new wounds. Great job, Urza. You stopped Moondrip. Lucy cheered, as she ran up to Urza. It's too late already. You failed. Toby exclaimed in an angry tone. The ritual is complete. And no. Urza and Lucy breathed out, as another tremendous roar rang out. Back in Deliora's chamber, Natsu stood defiantly before the freshly released demon. The dragon slayer clenched his fists, as he stared the demon down. This is the scene Gray stumbled upon, when he entered Deliora's chamber. Walking closer to Natsu, the ice mage was surprised when he suddenly found himself knee-deep in water. A sad look spread across Gray's face, as he scooped up a handful of water. You are. Gray thought, the water running down his arm. Gray. When did you get here? Raising his head, Gray saw that Natsu was now staring at him. The dragon slayer had a slightly worried look on his face. Now that Deliora's been revived, we've got no other choice. We have to take this bastard down. Ha, it's impossible for you guys. Gray and Natsu's eyes widened when they saw Lion crawling into the chamber. The ice mage had a crazed look on his face, as he advanced towards Deliora. Let me fight Deliora, to surpass, you are. TCH, it's even more impossible for you. So stay the hell back. Natsu exclaimed, pointing at Lion. We, finally, meet. Lion said, as Deliora released another roar. Deliora. With great effort, Lion managed to barely stand up on his feet. The only monster that you couldn't defeat, I will defeat it, with my own hands, right now, I will surpass you now. Lion began to shuffle towards Deliora,
but Ice Mage let out a gasp when Gray chopped him in the back of the neck. With a low groan, Lion collapsed to the ground.
"That's enough, Lion,"
Gray said, as he crossed his arms once again.
"Leave this to me. I'll seal Deliora." Like before, ice magic began to fiercely swirl around Gray. "Iced shell!" Lion exclaimed, gritting his teeth. "Don't Gray. How long do you think I spent melting that ice? History will just repeat itself. Eventually I'll melt the ice, to challenge Deliora again. This is the only way,"
Gray said, as frost and ice began to cover his body.
"This is the only way to stop Deliora now. Step aside, Ice Princess,"
Natsu said, stepping in front of Gray.
"I'll fight it." "Move, you ass. You're in the way," Gray exclaimed in an angry tone.
"I stopped you earlier, because I didn't want you to die," Natsu said, turning his head to look at Gray.
"Didn't my voice reach you?"
Gray's eyes widened when he heard this, and the ice magic surrounding him began to die down.
"You remember when Lisanna died, right?"
"I won't put our Nakama through that ever again."
"Natsu,"
Gray breathed out, as the ice covering his body completely disappeared.
Gray and Lion's eyes widened when Deliora reared its arm back. The demon let out a mighty roar, as it prepared to strike. "Look out! I won't give up until the end," Natsu roared, as he coated his fists in electricity.
However, before the demon could attack, cracks began to spread across its body. Suddenly Deliora's arm fell off, along with several other body parts.
What the?" Natsu yelled, jumping back to avoid the collapsing demon.
As soon as Natsu jumped away, Deliora's head landed where he had just been standing.
"And no way,"
Lion said, clenching his fist in rage.
"This can't be."
Lion pressed his head against the ground, as he fought back tears.
Deliora was long dead. For 10 years, Deliora was trapped in UR's ice. And we are witnessing its final moment.
Lion choked back a sob, as tears began to fall from his eyes.
"I'm no match, I'll never surpass UR. Gray,"
Natsu said, placing his hand on the ice mage's shoulder.
"Your teacher was amazing.
Gray, I'll seal away your darkness."
"Thank you so much,"
Gray said, tears falling from his eyes as he remembered UR's words.
"Teacher. Come on, let's get out of here,"
Natsu said, giving Gray's shoulder a quick squeeze. But before Natsu began to leave Deliora's chamber, he suddenly remembered something.
"Shit. That woman never told me her name." As if on cue, a piece of paper floated down from the ceiling.
The Dragon Slayer reached out and caught the paper. On further inspection, Natsu saw that it was a note addressed to him. "You really are full of surprises, Natsukuan.
Since I am a woman of my word, my name is Altair.
I look forward to our future meetings.
And next time we fight, I won't go easy on you." "Altair, eh?" Natsu said, burning the note into ashes.
"I won't be going easy on you next time, either."
"Alright, Lion, let's go,"
Gray said, as he helped Lion onto his feet. Lion had to lean heavily on Gray, as the three mages made their way out of the temple. When Natsu reached the temple's exit, he was surprised to see Urza, Lucy, and Happy waiting for him.
"Urza?" Natsu exclaimed in shocked tone. "When did you get here?" "Yesterday," Urza replied, as she pulled Natsu into a tight hug.
A small smile spread across Natsu's face, as he returned Urza's embrace.
However, the moment was ruined when Natsu heard a growl come from Urza.
A moment later, the Dragon Slayer received a harsh slap across the face.
"Don't you ever do something so fucking stupid ever again. Do you have any idea how worried I was? Mira was a wreck too. If you'd wanted to go on an S-class mission, you should have just asked me. I would have gladly taken you."
Sorry, Urza,"
Natsu said, hanging his head in shame. I just wanted to prove to Laxus that I was worth fighting." "Why would you want to do that?"
Urza asked, her anger beginning to fade. Because that bastard insulted your strength, Natsu said, clenching his fists in anger. Urza's eyes widened when she heard this, and her face began to tinge pink. I can handle him berating me, but I won't stand for him insulting my nakama, especially you, Urza. Natsu, you don't have to prove yourself to Laxus, Urza said with a warm smile. You're the most amazing mage I know. Yeah, Lucy chirped with a wide grin. Laxus can go fuck himself. You're the strongest mage I know, Natsu. Are really? Natsu asked, raising his head. Aye, sir. Happy cheered, as he flew into Natsu's chest. Thank you guys, Natsu said, as he pulled Lucy and Urza in for a quick hug. Both girls' faces reddened at the sudden contact with the Dragon Slayer. When Natsu released the girls, a massive grin spread across his face. Urza and Gray smiled when Natsu released a loud cheer. Yeah. It's done. We did it. I was kinda worried a few times back there, Lucy said, releasing an exhausted sigh. UR-san is truly amazing. We've completed an S-class mission. Natsu cheered, pulling Lucy in for another hug. The blonde let out a surprised squeak when Natsu began to spin her around. We did it, Luce. Do this mean we can go on the second floor now? Lucy asked, as her eyes lit up. We're not finished yet, Urza with an amused smirk. The mission was to help the villagers, who were turned into demons. So that means our S-class mission hasn't ended yet. But Deliora died, Lucy reasoned, as Natsu set her back down. So the curse on the village should be. No. Urza cut Lucy off, shaking her head. The curse wasn't caused by Deliora. Moondrip's enormous magical power has harmed these people. There's no way the situation has changed, because of Deliora disappearing. Shit. Lucy cursed under her breath. Then let's go heal them then, Natsu said with a toothy grin, as he gave Happy a high five. Aye, sir. Happy cheered, jumping into the air. How do we fix this? Gray asked, turning his head to look at Lion. I dunno, Lion said, causing everyone to groan in annoyance. But if you guys don't know about it, how will we break the curse on the island? Lucy asked, placing her hands on her hips. We've known about the villagers ever since we came to this island 3 years ago, Lion explained, as he crossed his arms over his chest. We didn't interfere with the villagers at all. They've never come near us, either. Never for 3 years? Urza muttered, raising a scarlet eyebrow. Come to think of it, the light from Moondrip should have shined down on the ruins almost every night, Lucy said, as she rubbed her chin. It's strange that they've never investigated the temple. I have some doubts about Moondrip's effects on a human body, Lion said, as he gazed up at the moon. What? Don't give me some bullshit about how it's not your fault, Natsu said in an annoyed tone. My comrades and I have basked in the same light for 3 years, Lion said, causing everyone's eyes to widen. Be careful, those villagers are hiding something. Well, form her on out, it's Fairy Tail's job. I won't let you just get away, you destroyed the village and dash. Natsu was stopped when Urza slapped a hand over his mouth. They had their own justice, Urza said, remembering what Toby told her about Sherry and himself. How they both had lost their families to Deliora. Natsu, there's no use whining about the past. Let's get going. Urza grabbed Natsu by the back of his vest and started dragging him back towards the village. You say let's go, but how do we break the curse? Lucy asked, following closely behind Urza. No idea, Urza replied, as she dragged the pouting dragon slayer. Oh, okay, Lucy said in a confused tone. As Lion watched the 3 fairy tale mages walk off, he noticed that Gray was staring at him. What are you looking at? Lion asked, feigning annoyance. You should join a guild, Gray said, as he turned to leave. You'll have nakama and rivals. I'm sure you'll find a new goal. With one last wave, Gray began to follow after his friends.
Are ridiculous, just leave already. Lion said, avoiding Gray's gaze. Storage area. Where is everyone? Lucy asked, as the fairy tale mages re-entered the storage area they had stayed the previous night. This is where everyone was? Natsu asked, searching around the area. Yeah, because the village was destroyed. Lucy replied, as she looked around the camp. But, where is everyone? Well, while we're here I'm gonna grab some ointment and bandages. Gray said, entering one of the tents. Hello? Fairy tale mages. A villager yelled, as he sprinted towards them. Please hurry back to the village. Sharing a confused look, the fairy tale mages followed the man back to the village. When the mages arrived, they were stunned to see that the village was completely fine, as if it had never been destroyed. Well, what's going on here? Lucy breathed out, as she released a slight gasp. Yesterday the village was destroyed, but now? Happy said, staring at the village with wide eyes. It's all back to normal. Natsu said to himself, as he tapped on one of the huts. It's as if time has been reversed. Suddenly Natsu's eyes widened, as a small smile spread across his face. No way, did Altair do this? Huh, I guess she's not so bad after all. If everything's back to normal we should see if our stuff's back. Lucy exclaimed, as she began to run towards where they had stayed on their first night in the village. But Lucy stopped when she saw Mocha sitting in front of Bobo's grave, which had also been returned to normal. I see, Bobo-san's grave is back to normal. What a relief. Lucy was surprised when Mocha suddenly turned his head to look at her. Are you the ones who returned the village back to normal? Mocha asked, fully turning to face Lucy. Not really. Lucy replied with a nervous chuckle, as she rubbed the back of her head. We are still grateful. But... Lucy was taken aback by Mocha suddenly raising his voice. Mages. Please do tell, when will you destroy the moon for us? It'll be easy to destroy the moon. Urza said, walking up to Lucy and Mocha. Lucy's eyes widened when she heard Urza say such a crazy thing. But before that, I want to confirm something. Would you mind gathering all the villagers together? Mocha nodded, and began to round up all of the villagers. About 5 minutes later, Urza stood before the entire village. Let me get this straight. You all gained this appearance after the purple moon appeared. Is that right? To be exact, we only turn into this appearance when the moon is out. Mocha replied, causing Urza to nod her head. By your account this all started 3 years ago. Urza said, as she began to pace back and forth. But, the moon drip ceremony has been held daily for 3 years on this island. You should have seen the rays of light hitting the temple every night. Lucy's eyes narrowed, as she watched Urza pace back and forth. The blonde's eyes suddenly shot open when she saw that Urza was about to walk over one of her pitfalls. Kaya! Urza screamed, as she fell into the hole. Even Lucy's pitfall was restored. Happy said with a disbelieving look. As she said Kaya, Natsu said with a slight blush across his face. That was really cute. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. Lucy began to chant over and over again. Meaning that the temple was the most suspicious place on the island. Urza said, as she climbed out of the hole, acting as if nothing had happened. Everyone's sweat dropped, as they watched Urza continue to pace. Why didn't you investigate the temple? Because it's a tradition to not go near the ruins. Mocha replied, in a not too convincing tone. Can you please tell the truth? Urza asked, causing Mocha to release a heavy sigh. To be truthful, we have no idea what's going on either. Mocha admitted, looking Urza in the eyes. Honestly, we tried to investigate the ruins several times. We gathered a bunch of unfamiliar weapons, and headed to the ruins many times. But we couldn't get close to it. We noticed that even if we walked straight towards the temple, we wound up in front of the village gates. We just cannot get anywhere near the ruins. What do you mean you couldn't approach the ruins? Lucy asked in a surprised tone. We could get into the ruins no problem. Natsu said, quirking an eyebrow.
We kept it silent, because you wouldn't believe such a story. One of the villagers said.
Just as I thought. Urza said, surprising everyone.
Up in a distant tree, Altair watched the fairy tale mages with a small smirk. The dark-haired woman clutched the burn mark on her stomach, where Natsu had punched her. Amazing that Titania, she's already figured it out. Fairy tale is full of interesting mages.
Natsu, follow me. Urza ordered, as her entire body began to glow. Re-equip the giant's armor.
When the light down, Urza was donned in her new armor. The armor featured a barbaric appearance and was adorned with numerous fur trimmings around the armor's joints. The armor was also complemented with blue ornamental stripes over each piece of armor and golden animal-like ears with a blue stripe across each ear. The breastplate featured a medallion similar in shape to a four-leaf clover over the armor's collar and displayed a blue ornamented cross over her abdomen. The pauldrons are massive in size and featured a unique design where the shouldered sections are pointed upwards. The edges were decorated with the blue ornamental stripes and the armor's sleeves were lined with fur. The armor's skirt was composed of intricately designed golden plates that donned a fur-lined edge around the skirt and covered the upper part of Urza's thighs. The skirt was embellished with a brown leather belt that grasped the skirt around her hips. The armor indistinguishably featured two different gauntlets on both arms. The left gauntlet covered her forearm and had a fur lining around the wrist, whereas the right gauntlet, which lacked fur, was noticeably larger and rounder as it extended down to her hand.
The right gauntlet featured a round red gem over the wrist section of the gauntlet.
The knee guards sported protruding metal ornaments reminiscent of dragon's wings, and the plates that partially covered Urza's thighs were held up by straps tied behind her legs. The greaves had fur sprouting from both the knee and the ankle areas.
We're gonna destroy the moon. Fuck yeah.
Natsu cheered, as a childish smile spread across his face. I'll destroy the moon, and everyone will return to normal. Urza said calmly, while Gray, Lucy, and Happy had shocked looks on their faces. The scarlet-haired knight ascended a nearby lookout with Natsu following closely behind.
Urza, if we're going to destroy the moon, shouldn't we go to the temple? It's higher up.
Natsu reasoned, as he stood next to Urza.
Here's fine.
Urza said, as she gazed up at the moon. Also, the villagers can't go near the temple. Destroying the moon, even if it's Urza, I don't think it's possible. Gray commented, placing his hands in his pockets.
How is she gonna do it?
Lucy asked, her voice a mix of curiosity and worry.
The giant's armor increases one's throwing power.
Urza said, as a massive extravagant spear re-equipped into her hand. And this spear is the Demolival Lance, which subdues darkness.
You're just gonna chuck that and break the moon? Natsu exclaimed with immature excitement. Whoa, awesome. More like impossible.
Gray and Lucy thought with deadpan looks. Natsu, my armor is likely not enough to reach the moon.
Urza said, getting the Dragon Slayer's attention.
I want you to use your Fire Dragon Slayer magic to give my spear a boost.
Just hit the end of the spear as hard as you can. Together, with my armor's throwing power, we'll break the moon. Hell yeah. I gotcha.
Natsu said with a wide grin.
Good, let's do this.
Urza said, as she raised her spear.
They're both way too into this.
Gray said with a sweat drop.
Don't tell me they're actually gonna destroy the moon, Lucy said in a nervous tone. Ready, Natsu?
Urza exclaimed, as she cocked her arm back.
Fire Dragon's Iron Fist.
Natsu roared, as he punched the back of Urza's spear. When Natsu's flaming fist made contact with the spear, two massive jets of flames fired out of the back of the spear.
Reach it!
Urza yelled, as she hurled the spear towards the moon. The spear took off like a rocket towards the moon. But after a few moments the spear seemed to have reached its target. A loud crash was heard, as cracks started to spread across the moon's surface.
No way!
Lucy and Gray exclaimed, as their jaws dropped.
The villagers let out a loud cheer, thinking that the moon was destroyed.
But after a few moments crystal-like debris began to fall towards the ground, revealing that the moon was undamaged.
The moon's completely fine," Natsu exclaimed in a somewhat disappointed tone. "The moon didn't break," Lucy said, as sparkling debris showered over the village. "But the sky did. What's going on?" Natsu breathed out, as he watched the shining debris rain down. The island was covered by an evil barrier, Urza explained, causing a confused look to spread across Natsu's face. "Think of it as toxic fumes created by moon drip. It crystallized, and created a barrier in the sky. That's why the moon appeared purple. The evil barrier is broken, now the island will regain its original shine." As Urza explained this, all the villagers began to glow brightly. The villagers expected to be returned to normal, but they were confused when still appeared as demons. But the villagers didn't return to normal, Gray pointed out. "No. This is their normal appearance," Urza said, shocking everyone. "The evil barrier affected their memory, not their appearance. We become demons at night. Wrong thoughts like that. No way." Lucy stammered out, as she caught on to what Urza was saying, her eyes widening in shock. "That's how it is," Urza said with a small smile. "They were demons to begin with." A collective gasp sounded amongst the villagers, as they began to murmur amongst themselves. They had the ability to transform into humans. So over time they came to believe that they were truly humans. That was Moondrip's effect on their memory. But then why were Lion and the others fine?" Happy asked, looking up at Urza. "Because they're human," Urza replied, looking down at the blue cat. "I guess the memory damage only affects demons. Also, the villagers couldn't approach the temple because they're demons. People from the darkness cannot approach a temple that hold holy light." "Amazing," a new voice said in an odd tone. "I'm glad that I left this in your hands." Everyone turned to the newcomer, and were shocked to see who it was. All the villagers were shocked to see Bobo standing behind them. "Thank you, mages." Bobo? Mocha said in a disbelieving tone. "A ghost," Lucy screamed, grabbing a hold of Happy. "You're the sailor that disappeared," Gray exclaimed, his eyes widening. The ice mage gasped when he saw Bobo sprout wings and fly into the air. "I apologize for not telling you the truth back then," Bobo said with a nervous grin, as he scratched his cheek. "I left the island, because I was the only one who got their memory back. I was worried about everyone in the village, because they all thought they were human." Mocha couldn't stop the tears that formed in his eyes, as wings sprouted from his back too. The village chief began to fly over to Bobo. "Bobo!" Mocha exclaimed, as he pulled his son in for a hug. "It's great to see that you're back to your senses, Dad," Bobo said, returning his father's embrace. "Ha, Demon Island, huh?" Urza said with chuckle, as she watched the other villages join Bobo and Mocha in the air. "If you at their faces. They look more like angels than demons," Natsu said with a big smile. "I think you're right about that, Natsu," Urza said with a smile of her own. "We must have a demon feast to celebrate," Mocha exclaimed, earning a loud cheer from the rest of the villagers. Back in her tree, Altair smirked as she watched the villagers prepare for their celebration. "Did you see it?" Altair asked, turning to her crystal ball. "Yeah," a voice sounded from the orb. "But why did you return the village to normal?" "I was feeling nice, Seagrain-sama, so I did them a favor," Altair replied with a shrug. Anyhow, they did better than expected," Seagrain said with an amused look. "Especially that Natsu Dragneel, fairy tale. I hope they won't get in our way." "I agree," Altair said, as she turned to leave. "It would be a shame to have to kill them all." The next morning, HRMM. Lucy hummed, as she inspected Gray's injuries. "Looks like some of your wounds will leave scars." "I don't care," Gray said, crossing his arms over his chest. "But it's on your face." Lucy pointed out the small scar on Gray's forehead.
I don't care where I get hurt, as long as my injuries are visible. Gray said with a ghost of a smile. Kinda a cheesy, but well said. Lucy said with a quick wink. TCH, just another way to make your ugly ass even uglier. Natsu said, as he ate some flames off a torch. Shut you face. I'm trying to act cool, so butt out. Gray said in an annoyed tone, slapping Natsu across the chest. You're maybe an ice mage, but you're the farthest thing from cool I've ever seen. Natsu said, earning an angry huff from Gray. WH what? You can accept the reward? Mocha asked in a shocked tone. Of course, your happiness is enough payment for us. We appreciate it. Urza said with a warm smile. As I told you last night, this job wasn't officially accepted by Outguild. Urza briefly turned to see Gray and Natsu fighting, while Lucy stood to the side chuckling. The scarlet-haired knight smiled, and turned back to Mocha. A couple of idiots just rushed into this job without permission. But that still doesn't change the fact that you saved us. Mocha said with a large smile. Will you accept the reward as a gift from your friends, instead of a reward for your guild? It's hard to reject when you put it like that. Urza said, shaking her head. 7 million jewels. Gray cheered in an excited tone. She won't accept it. Natsu said, crossing his arms over his chest. Gray immediately deflated when he heard this. I know Urza, and she'll still decline. Natsu then turned to Lucy, and smiled at the blonde. But she'll probably accept your golden zodiac gate key. The celestial spirit mage's eyes lit up when she heard this. But to accept that would go against what Outguild stands for. Urza said, proving what Natsu had said. Although, we'll happily accept the additional reward, the golden gate key. Then, at least let us take you back to Harjan. Bobo offered, as he handed Urza the celestial spirit gate key. No need, we have a ship ready. Urza said, gesturing to a large pirate ship slightly down the beach. A pirate ship? Gray exclaimed in a nervous tone. Whoa! Urza, that's awesome. Natsu cheered, as she stared at the pirate ship with wide eyes. I don't want to ride on that. Lucy yelled, as she hugged herself. If you want to swim, I'll go with you loose. Natsu said with his trademark grin. Not gonna happen. Lucy shouted, as she stomped over to the pirate ship. A few minutes later all the fairy tale mages were on board the ship. Everyone! Thank you so much. Bobo called out, as the ship began to depart. Take care. Lucy yelled, waving to the villagers that had gathered to see them off. As the fairy tale mages sailed off, Lion and his comrades sat on the shore to watch their departure. They're gone. Yuka said, clasping his hands behind his back. I'm not crying. Toby yelled, as tears poured from his eyes. Is this okay? Gray is your fellow pupil, and you're finally getting along. Sherry said, looking down at Lion. It's okay. Lion said, as he watched the ship sail over the horizon. Once the ship was out of view, Lion turned to his friends. Hey, is being in a guild fun? Magical Council meeting site. I was rather disappointed we couldn't do anything with Deliora. Altair said, as she stood behind Seagrain. Well, it can't be helped, we couldn't have known that it was long dead. Seagrain said with a small smirk. I just thought that we could have gotten one step closer to the dream if we had Deliora. Altair said, hanging her head. I'm sorry, Seagrain-sama. I didn't imagine that woman's magic would be so powerful. Please talk about her like that. Seagrain chastised, turning to face Altair. Tear of you are, Altair. I rather respect your mother. If she was still alive, she'd be one of the 10 wizard saints without a doubt. TCH, you think too highly of her. Altair said with a disgusted look. My mother was a pitiful woman possessed by evil and dumped by my father. The more important the things you lose, the stronger the powers you gain. Seagrain said, as Altair closed her eyes. I'm just a speck in my mother's life. Altair said with a sad smile.
Is that so?
Maybe she raised those two young pupils out of regret. Seagrain said, but Altair stopped him by placing a finger to his lips.
Enough of THGAH.
Altair suddenly gasped when she felt an intense pain from her stomach.
Ha ha.
It seems that your injuries haven't quite healed up yet.
Seagrain laughed, causing a frown to spread across Altair's face. Actually, what do you think of Natsu after fighting him?
I didn't even use half my power, but he's still amazing. Altair replied, as she rubbed her aching stomach.
He'll just keep getting stronger and stronger.
Just as I thought.
Seagrain said, clenching his fists.
That child of Igneel, keep on burning brighter, for the sake of my dream.
Magnolia.
We're back.
Natsu cheered, as the fairy tale mages entered Magnolia.
Man, all that trouble for some stupid key. Gray grumbled with an annoyed look.
It wasn't an official job, so it was fair enough.
Urza said, as she glared at Gray, immediately silencing the ice mage.
Yeah, no need to complain.
Lucy said, as she clutched her new key.
You're the only one who gained anything, Lucy.
Happy pointed, as he gazed up at Lucy's new gate key.
Let's sell the key.
What?
Keep your dirty paws away from my key, you mangy cat.
Lucy exclaimed, clutching the key close to her chest.
I've told you before, there's only 12 golden zodiac gate keys in the whole world.
They're super rare.
Which key did you get?
Gray asked, now quite curious.
Sagittarius, the archer.
Lucy said with hearts in her eyes.
All right, fun time's over.
Urza said, silencing the other three mages.
We're heading back to the guild, so we can decide your punishment. In regards to this case, I'm willing to overlook your actions.
But, it's the master who will deliver the verdict. I won't be defending you very much, so prepare for punishment.
Don't tell we'll have to do that?
Gray exclaimed, as he curled into a ball on the ground.
No, please. I never want to do that ever again. What's that?
Lucy yelled, as she felt a shiver run down her spine.
Don't worry, Luce. Natsu said, wrapping an arm around Lucy's shoulders.
I'm sure Ji-chan will just praise us for doing a good job.
You're way too optimistic, Natsu.
Lucy said with a nervous smile. She appreciated the Dragon Slayer trying to comfort her, but she knew that their chances weren't very good.
No. I'm sure that is a given.
Urza said, as she shook her head. The scarlet-haired knight could only feel pity for the three of them. I feel awful for doing this to you three, but you need to be punished. Natsu's grin slowly faded, as Urza's words sank in. Sweat began to pour off the Dragon Slayer's body. Seconds later, Natsu was trying to escape down the road. But Urza quickly grabbed him by his scarf, and started dragging him towards the guild hall.
No. Anything but that.
Natsu screamed, as he thrashed in Urza's grasp.
Urza, please help me. I'll do anything. Just don't make me do that.
So what is that? Lucy exclaimed, seeing the Dragon Slayer's distress only made Lucy's worries increase tenfold.
Well, let's get going.
Urza said, dragging the kicking and screaming Dragon Slayer down the road, with a dejected Gray and panicking Lucy following solemnly behind.
As Urza dragged Natsu towards the guild hall,
the Dragon Slayer couldn't help but overhear the townspeople's whispers as they walked past. They sounded rather distressed, as if something terrible had happened.
What? Something's happened to the guild hall,
Urza said, as the guild came into view in the distance.
What? Lucy breathed out, barely able to comprehend what she was seeing. This is...
Gray struggled to speak, because he couldn't believe his eyes. The guild hall before them was wrecked.
Dozens of massive metal rods pierced the guild's walls.
Large parts of the guild were falling apart, or had already collapsed. The once proud fairy tale banner, that used to blow in the breeze, now hung limply on the guild's roof.
Our guild! Natsu roared, as an overwhelming rage filled his body.
The Dragon Slayer's rage only increased when he saw the destroyed fairy tale sign that lay before them.
Who did this to our home?
Natsu clenched his fist so tightly that he felt his fingernails pierce the skin of his palms.
A vein bulged on Natsu's forehead, as angry tears fell from his eyes.
When I find out who did this, they're going to pay dearly. Natsu couldn't help but remember what Lisanna had said to him before she had left on the S-Class mission that she was killed on.
Until that time, you do your best to protect Fairy Tail, okay?
Lisanna, I won't let them disgrace your memory. Natsu thought, as he felt more tears sting his eyes. I will protect our home, and I will destroy those that try to take our home away from us.
What happened here?
Urza asked, as she felt a similar rage fill her body.
Chapter 14, This Means War. Fairy Tail Guild Hall. What happened here?
Urza asked, as rage filled her body.
Who could have done such an awful thing?
Lucy asked, tears forming in the corners of her eyes.
I don't know who did this, but whoever did is going to pay dearly.
Natsu said with a snarl, as he angrily wiped away his tears.
Phantom Lord did this.
A quiet voice said from behind them.
Turning around, the four mages were surprised to see Mira Jane. It's simply awful. But we were done in. Mira, Natsu said, releasing a sigh of relief.
The Dragon Slayer pulled the white-haired barmaid in for a hug.
Thank God you're all right. Was anyone hurt? No, everyone is fine. Mira Jane replied, returning Natsu's embrace.
I'm so glad to see that you're all right too, Natsu.
You had me really worried. Sorry I made you worry, Mira, but I just wanted to show Laxus that I'm worth fighting. Natsu said, releasing Mira Jane from the hug. It's fine, Natsu. I know that you were just looking out for Urza.
Mira Jane said, giving Urza a quick wink. The scarlet-haired knight's face burned red, as she looked in the other direction.
Come on, everyone is in the basement.
Mira Jane led everyone through the rubble of the destroyed guild hall, down into the guild's basement. As the mages descended the stairs into the basement, they noticed that the room was ripe with tension. Guild members sat at makeshift tables, drinking or murmuring amongst each other.
Hey look, Urza, Natsu, Gray and Lucy are back. Wakaba announced after taking a drag from his cigarette.
Everyone turned around to watch the mages descend the stairs.
Did you guys see what happened to the guild? Nab asked, pointing towards the floor above. It was kinda hard to miss.
Lucy replied with a sweat drop.
Damn Phantom Lord. How dare they do this to our guild? We've always been on bad terms with them. Let's go and wreck their guild. Calm down. This is Phantom Lord we're talking about.
The basement soon filled with loud shouts, as guild members argued amongst each other. Some of the guild members wanted to storm over to Phantom Lord's guild hall and burn it to the ground, while others were more reserved and wanted to plan out a strategy to strike back at Phantom Lord. Mira ushered Natsu, Urza, Lucy, and Gray through the basement, towards where Master Makarov sat. The old man was sitting on a table, with a drink in his hand.
Yo! Makarov said in a happy tone, as he waved at Natsu's team. Welcome back. Ji-chan. This isn't fucking happy hour.
Natsu shouted, letting a throaty growl briefly escape his throat.
Oh, right you are. Makarov said, as he nodded his head.
The guild master huffed, and pointed an accusing finger at Natsu.
But
how dare you go on an S-Class quest without proper permission?
Eh?
Lucy exclaimed, her mouth hanging open in surprise.
Punishment!
Makarov exclaimed, as he held up his hat.
You'll receive your punishment now.
So prepare yourselves.
It's not the time for that now.
Natsu growled, as he felt flames build up inside his body.
Bad. Makarov said, as his arm extended and smacked Natsu upside the head.
The master repeated this process with Happy and Gray, but when he got to Lucy, he quickly spanked her.
Master! Behave yourself. Mira scolded, as she shot Makarov an upset look. This wasn't missed by Natsu.
The Dragon Slayer quickly grabbed Makarov's arm and shot him a fierce glare.
Ji-chan, I don't care if you're the master. I'd advise you never do anything like that to Lucy ever again.
Natsu said in a low tone as he bared his large canines.
Whatever you say.
Makarov said, causing Natsu to release his arm.
Master!
Urza exclaimed, her patience at its breaking point.
Do you understand our current situation?
Yeah.
They destroyed our guild. Natsu roared, as his previous anger returned. Geez, calm down. Makarov said, tapping a finger on his knee. It's not something to really fuss over.
What? Gray and Lucy exclaimed, as their eyes widened.
It was Phantom Lord, right? This is as far as those idiots will go.
Makarov said before he took a drink of his beer. I don't see why they even bothered to attack an empty guild.
Empty guild? Urza repeated, quirking a scarlet eyebrow.
It seems that they attack in the middle of the night. Mira Jane replied, earning a nod from Urza. There's no need to fight with someone that resorts to surprise attacks.
Makarov said, as he waved dismissively. Just leave them be.
However, Makarov raised an eyebrow when Natsu slammed his fist onto the table next to him.
The table was destroyed Natsu's powerful strike. I can't just leave them be. Natsu screamed in Makarov's face.
The Dragon Slayer was beyond furious, and he accepted Phantom Lord getting off unscathed. I won't feel right until I burn their guild into a pile of ashes.
This discussion is over. Makarov said sternly, trying to end the argument. We'll take job requests down here until the first floor is fixed. We don't have time to be messing around with fucking jobs. Natsu roared, as he glared at Makarov. Natsu! Cut it out!
Gray exclaimed, grabbing a hold of the Dragon Slayer's shoulder.
We're done talking about this for now.
Makarov said, as he hopped of the table.
I'm gonna go take a leak.
Growl how can he be so calm? Natsu said, angrily crossing his arms over his chest.
Natsu!
Mira Jane said in a sympathetic tone, as she gave the Dragon Slayer's shoulder a squeeze. I'm sure Master is just as shocked as everyone else. Mira Jane's sweet voice instantly began to calm Natsu.
But warfare between guilds is strictly prohibited.
But they attacked us first.
Natsu exclaimed, slamming his fist into a wall. That's beside the issue, Natsu.
Mira Jane said, releasing a light sigh.
If this how the master feels about it.
Urza said, gritting her teeth.
We'll just have to stand down. The rest of Natsu's team seemed rather upset that they couldn't retaliate.
A solemn mood had fallen over the group, except for Natsu.
The Dragon Slayer was still extremely angry, and his fury didn't appear to be going away anytime soon. Well, I'm gonna head home,
Lucy announced, as she began to ascend the stairs. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Alright, stay safe, Luce. Natsu said, his voice still carrying an angry undertone.
The Dragon Slayer gave Lucy a quick forced grin, before he returned to his thoughts.
See you tomorrow, Lucy,
Urza said after taking a bite of her strawberry cake.
With a quick smile and wave, Lucy exited the guild hall.
Maybe all three of us should go on a mission tomorrow, Natsu.
It will help you take your mind of this whole mess. When Urza didn't receive a reply, she shot the Dragon Slayer a quick look. Natsu was staring intently at the wall, appearing to be in deep thought.
One of hands lay on the table, idly clenching and unclenching, causing sparks to occasionally shoot off his knuckles.
Until that time, you do your best to protect Fairy Tail, okay? Protect Fairy Tail. Protect.
Lisanna's words kept repeating over and over in Natsu's head.
The Dragon Slayer couldn't help but feel like he had somehow betrayed Lisanna. He had let their home be attacked and destroyed.
Maybe if he hadn't been such an idiot and gone on that S-class mission, maybe he could have done something to stop this from happening. He could have easily found another way to prove himself to Laxus, but he wanted to do something quick. As Natsu's mind wandered, his eyes gradually left the wall, and eventually fell upon Mira Jane. The white-haired barmaid had a blank look on her face as she wiped down a table. Mira Jane flashed some of the guild members a bright smile, but Natsu could see that it was forced. He knew Mira was just as upset as him, and that she wanted to act. The Dragon Slayer felt like he had also let Mira down, as well as Lisanna. Natsu could faintly hear Urza speaking to him, something about the three of them going on a mission to help clear his head. But Natsu didn't want to go on any missions, he wanted revenge. Before Natsu's mind could dwell on the topic too much, he felt Urza squeeze his shoulder. "Did you hear me, Natsu?" Urza asked with a slightly worried look, as she grabbed Natsu's shoulder. The scarlet-haired knight was worried about the Dragon Slayer. He was being uncharacteristically quiet, and it was really starting to worry her. She could tell that Natsu was bottling his anger, and that was never a good thing. Natsu was very driven by his emotions, and it was not a good idea for him to keep them locked away. "Yeah, I heard you, Urza," Natsu said quietly, standing up from his seat. "We'll talk with Luce about missions tomorrow, okay?" Seeing Urza nod her head, Natsu cast another glance at Mira. "I'm gonna talk with Mira real quick, then I'm gonna head home." "All right, Natsu," Urza said, as she stood as well. The knight walked over and pulled the Dragon Slayer into a tight embrace. "Don't keep your emotions all bottled up inside, Natsu, it's not good for you." Urza's voice was shaky as she tightened the hug. "I'm worried about you, Natsu, so please don't do anything reckless." "Hey, when have I ever done anything reckless?" Natsu joked half-heartedly, earning a slight chuckle from Urza. "There we go. I knew I could make you smile." "Don't worry, Urza, I'm fine. I won't run off and do something stupid." "You better not," Urza warned, releasing Natsu from her embrace. "Because if you do, you're in for the scolding of a lifetime." "Then I definitely won't try anything," Natsu said with a toothy grin as he began to walk towards Mira. "Good night, Urza." "Night, Natsu," Urza called out with a small smile. But as soon as the Dragon Slayer turned around, Urza's smile quickly changed to a frown. "I hope you're really okay, Natsu," Urza said quietly, as she bit into another forkful of cake. "Hey, Mira," Natsu said softly, walking up behind the eldest Strauss sibling. "Oh, hello, Natsu," Mira Jane said sweetly, as she finished wiping off a table. "I'm so glad you, Urza, and Lucy are back safely." "Yeah, it's great to be back," Natsu said, rubbing the back of his head nervously. Mira Jane picked up on this and quirked a white eyebrow. "Can I talk with you in private for a moment?" "Sure thing, Natsu," Mira Jane replied in a confused tone. The barmaid was befuddled by Natsu's sudden nervousness, as she followed him into a secluded corner of the basement. "What's on your mind, Natsu?" I am so sorry, Mira," Natsu finally said, surprising the white-haired woman. The Dragon Slayer clenched his fists, as self-loathing tears formed in his eyes. Natsu hung his head to avoid Mira Jane's gaze. "I let you and Lisanna down." Mira Jane's eyes widened at the mention of her deceased younger sister. What are you talking about, Natsu? You haven't done anything wrong," Mira Jane said in concerned tone. She was surprised to see a few tears streak down Natsu's cheeks. "Yes, I have," Natsu hissed angrily, now looking Mira Jane in the eyes. "If I hadn't run off on that S-class mission, none of this might have happened. If I was back in town, I could have possibly done something to stop this. I even might have been able to catch the person who did this to our home. And when I did that S-class mission, I dragged along 3 more of our nakama. If Gray and Urza were here, they might have been able to stop whoever did this." Mira Jane stood speechless, listening to Natsu fall deeper and deeper into his self-hatred. The white-haired barmaid had never seen Natsu act like this before, and it was seriously starting to worry. 2 years ago, when you went on that S-class mission with Lisanna and Elfman, before you left, Lisanna asked me to keep Fairy Tail safe. But look at the guild now. Our home has been wrecked by those Phantom Lord assholes. Because I couldn't protect our home, I let Lisanna down. I've let those bastards disgrace her memory. Natsu was so caught up in his rant that he didn't register that Mira Jane had slapped him until he felt the stinging pain. The Dragon Slayer stared at Mira Jane wide-eyed, as he placed a hand to his red cheek. Natsu's heart ached when he saw tears streaming down Mira Jane's face. "Don't you dare blame yourself for this, Natsu," Mira Jane said, choking back a sob. "And don't you dare think for 1 second that you let Lisanna and I down. You had no way of knowing that this would happen, Natsu, so please stop putting yourself down for something that was out of your control." Mira Jane stopped briefly to wipe away her tears. "Do you remember what you said to Elfman 2 years ago?" Natsu's eyes widened when Mira Jane said this. "Lisanna wouldn't want you blaming yourself." A soft smile graced Mira's face as she placed a hand on Natsu's cheek. "You'll have your chance at revenge, Natsu. You'll just have to be patient and wait for Master to come up with a plan. Until then, please stop thinking this was your fault." "Thank you, Mira," Natsu said, pulling Mira Jane in for a hug. Mira Jane could feel tears landing on the back of her dress. "I will make these bastards pay for wrecking our home." Natsu gave Mira Jane a quick squeeze before he released her. Mira Jane couldn't help but smile when she saw the grin on Natsu's face. "But you're right, Lisanna wouldn't want me acting like this. Gray's usually the one to act like an emo crybaby." This earned a giggle from Mira Jane. "Well, I'm gonna head home now." "Actually, Natsu," Mira Jane said, stopping the Dragon Slayer in his tracks. "Master said he wants groups of guild members staying together. He wants you, Lucy, Urza, Happy and Gray to stick together, just in case Phantom Lord tries to attack again. Gray, Urza, and Happy are probably heading to Lucy's apartment right now." "Oh, thanks, Mira," Natsu said with a wide smile. "I'll head over to Lucy's place right now." "Night, Mira." "Good night, Natsu," Mira Jane called out as she watched Natsu run off. When Natsu was out of sight, Mira Jane sighed and slumped into a nearby chair. Mira Jane closed her eyes and lowered her head. "Lisanna, please watch over Natsu." Strawberry Street. Things have gotten really serious, Lucy said to herself as she strolled down the street towards her apartment. The blonde celestial spirit mage was walking on the edge of the canal with Plu right in front of her. Phantom Lord is known for not being on good terms with Fairy Tail. Lucy sighed again as she opened the front door to her apartment building. "I'm really worried about Natsu. He seemed really out of when I left the guild. I think he may be blaming himself for what happened." The blonde chuckled as she began to ascend the stairs. "I remember when I first started out on my journey, I couldn't decide on whether to join Phantom Lord or Fairy Tail. But thanks to Natsu I made the right choice." Lucy smiled as she opened the door to her apartment. "Because Fairy Tail is?" However, Lucy went wide-eyed when she saw that Natsu, Urza, Happy, and Gray were all in her apartment. "The best. Welcome home," Gray said with a wave. "You have a very nice home, Lucy," Urza complimented as she took a sip of her tea. The knight was no longer wearing her usual armor, but was instead dressed in more casual clothes. Natsu was right when he said this place was an amazing deal. "Hey, Luce," Natsu said with a small smile. Lucy couldn't help but notice that Natsu seemed to be in a slightly better mood, although his tone still had a slightly upset edge to it. "What are you all doing here?" Lucy exclaimed as she dropped her bag. "Seeing that Phantom Lord attacked our guild, it's possible that they might have all our addresses," Urza replied, causing Lucy's eyes to widen in fear. "I don't think it'll happen, but they might attack us when we're alone," Gray said as he leaned back in his chair. "That's why Master said we should stay in groups for a while." Really?" Lucy asked in a slightly scared tone as she approached the table. "Everyone's having a sleepover today," Happy cheered, raising his paw. "Since you're a young and beautiful girl, I wouldn't feel right if only Natsu and Gray were here," Urza said, shooting Gray a quick glare. "That's why I joined Gray on his way here." "It's just for a little while, Luce," Natsu said with a grin. "Well, I'm gonna hit the sack, so keep it down."
Gray said, stretching in his seat. Urza. Look, I found some really kinky underwear. Happy said, as he dug through Lucy's drawers. I can't believe you'd wear something like this. Urza managed to say, as she peeked into Lucy's underwear drawer as well. The knight's face was a fluorescent red, as she gazed at the erotic undergarments. You're so brave for wearing these. Urza couldn't help but picture herself wearing a pair of these for a certain pink-haired dragon slayer. Maybe I can borrow a pair from her. We look about the same size. Geez, you're already making yourself at home. Lucy said with a deadpan expression. Natsu, Gray, you two stink. Urza said, finally able to control her raging blush. Since we'll be sleeping in the same room, I suggest you both take a shower. I don't really feel like it. Natsu said, crossing his arms over his chest. And I'm too sleepy. Gray said, stifling a yawn. I guess there's no choice. Urza said, wrapping an arm around Natsu's neck. Natsu and I will have to shower together like when we were younger. The Dragon Slayer's eyes widened when he heard this, and his face burned red. Now Natsu was totally open to the idea of a nice shower, as he gave Urza's generous bust a quick glance. Gray, you'll just have to wait for us to finish. What kind of relationship do they have? Lucy thought, as her eyes narrowed. 30 minutes later. After some encouraging from Urza, everyone eventually took a quick shower. Although Natsu seemed a little upset that he wouldn't be showering with Urza, Lucy made absolutely sure of that. He took a fast one anyways. Hey! Lucy asked, as she began to dry her hair off. Do any of you have any idea why Phantom Lord attacked us out of the blue? I don't know. Urza, now dressed in Heartcrew's pajamas, said as she crossed her arms under her chest. We've had a few scraps with them in the past, but this is the first time they've attacked us directly. Ji-chan should stop pissing around, and just blow them all away. Natsu said, resting his head on Lucy's kitchen table. I don't think Ji-san is pissing around. Gray said, as he set Lucy's novel down. The blonde's face burned bright red as she quickly snatched the unfinished book of her desk. After all, he's on of the 10 Wizard Saints. 10 Wizard Saints? Lucy repeated in a confused tone. It's a title given to 10 strongest mages in each continent. They're decided by the chairman of the Magic Council. Urza explained, causing Lucy's eyes to widen. Oh wow! Lucy exclaimed in an excited tone. But Master Jose of Phantom Lord is also one of the 10 Wizard Saints. Happy pointed out, raising his paw. So is he. Urza thought, as an image of Seagrain appeared in her mind. I still think Ji-chan is scared, because Phantom Lord has a lot of members. Natsu said through clenched teeth, as he slammed a fist down onto the table. Have you even been listening, Ash for Brains? I'm telling you that's not it. Gray said, earning a throaty growl from Natsu. Both Master and Mira-chan know what would happen if two guild fought, so they're trying to avoid it. In order to protect the magical order in the world. Lucy gulped audibly when she heard this. Mira wants to fight, I know she does. She's just waiting for Master to give the order to attack. Natsu thought, as he clenched his fist. You don't know anything about Mira, Ice Princess. Is Phantom Lord really that strong? Lucy asked in a concerned tone. They're not strong at all. Natsu replied, earning him a smack upside the head from Urza. Don't listen to him. Urza said, as she turned to look at Lucy. In reality, if our guilds fought we'd both be wiped out. Our fighting potential is about equal right now. Urza released a light sigh, and closed her eyes. Master Jose, one of the 10 Wizard Saints, who's said to be as powerful as Master Makarov. Then there's the Elemental 4, the equivalent to our own S-class mages. However, they say the most formidable is the Iron Dragon Gajeel. Apparently he's the one who attacked our guild. He's the Iron Dragon Slayer. Dragon Slayer? Lucy exclaimed, shooting Natsu a quick look. The pink-haired Dragon Slayer had an annoyed look on his face, as he stared in the other direction. There are more besides Natsu? Then does he eat iron and stuff? Phantom Lord Guild Hall. Gajiel, I heard you attacked Fairy Tail, huh? Good job.
A Phantom Lord Guild member said, as he approached the Iron Dragon Slayer.
Gajiel was sitting at a table, eating a handful of iron screws and bolts. I bet their spirits are pretty crushed right now. Serves them right.
Before the man could say anything else, an iron club extended from Gajiel's arm, sending the man flying across the guild.
What did I say about disturbing me while I'm eating? Gajiel said in an annoyed tone, as his arm returned to normal. You scum.
The Iron Dragon Slayer stood from his seat and glared at the other guild members.
Who cares about those fairy assholes? Our guild is stronger than theirs.
The wheels have been set in motion. Jose said, stepping out of the shadows.
Excellent work, Gajiel-san. You were too lenient, master.
Gajiel said with a wicked grin, baring his elongated canines, his red eyes filled with amusement. Those rat bastards won't be lured out of their cages just by destroying their guild.
So I left them another present, Jihi. My.
Jose said with a dark chuckle.
Thought, you mustn't kill that person, no matter what. Gajiel's evil grin only grew wider. Magnolia, Southern Park.
A large crowd had gathered around the tree in center of Magnolia's Southern Park. The townspeople murmured and whispered amongst to themselves. On the tree before them were 3 crucified figures. They were Fairy Tail's Levi McGarden, Jet, and Droy. The 3 mages were seriously injured, their bodies covered in numerous bruises and lacerations. Iron bindings held Levi, Jet, and Droy in place above the ground.
Out of my way!
Urza exclaimed, as she pushed through the crowd of people.
I'm from the guild.
When Urza reached the front of the crowd, she gasped in shock at the gruesome display.
Levi-chan.
Lucy breathed, as tears fell from her eyes. The blonde couldn't control her sobs, as she watched blood slowly drip down from Levi's forehead.
Jet! Droy!
Gray yelled, his voice laced with concern. The 2 male members of Team Shadowgear were even more beat up than Levi.
Until that time, you do your best to protect Fairy Tail, okay? Phantom Lord.
Natsu said barely above a whisper, spotting the Phantom Lord guild mark painted across Levi's stomach.
The Dragon Slayer's whole body began to shake in rage.
Veins bulged all along Natsu's arms and forehead, his breathing becoming more and more ragged with each breath. Suddenly intense flames exploded off the Dragon Slayer, causing those nearby to take a step back. The crowd behind Natsu separated to allow Makarov, who had just arrived, to approach the tree.
Ji-chan. Natsu's voice was uneven and shaky, as he barely contained his incredible rage.
I don't care what you say, I'm going to burn their guild to the ground.
Then I'm going to find Gajiel and melt him down into scrap metal. This time, you're right, my boy.
Makarov said, as he too began to shake in unbridled fury. Destroying out Shoddy Bar I could deal with, but no parent shall remain silent upon seeing their child's blood spilled. The walking stick Makarov had been using exploded under his clenched fists.
This means war.
Makarov then turned to Natsu, his eyes full of fury.
Natsu. You're leading the charge. I'm all fired up. Natsu roared, as the flames surrounding his body grew even more intense.
With one last shout of anger, Natsu sprinted through the crowd in the direction of Phantom Lord's Guild Hall, with most of his nakama following closely behind his blistering pace. Urza re-equipped into her normal armor, and Gray threw off his shirt as they caught up to the Dragon Slayer. The 3 of them lead Fairy Tail's assault on Phantom Lord.
One thought on each of their minds. Revenge. Lisanna, I'm done standing around. I'm gonna stop these bastards before they can hurt any more of our nakama. Natsu thought, as he reached the outskirts of Magnolia. Once Natsu was clear of the city limits, he encased his legs in fire.
Seconds later a loud boom was heard, as Natsu began to fly towards Phantom Lord's Guild Hall.
I promise you that, Lisanna. Chapter 15, Assault on Phantom Lord. 10 minutes later, Magnolia Hospital.
Lucy sat in a chair to the right of Levi's hospital bed.
All 3 members of Team Shadowgear were unconscious and covered in numerous bandages and casts.
Lucy had stayed behind to watch over Levi, Jet, and Droy while the rest of Fairy Tail assaulted Phantom Lord. The blonde celestial spirit mage was staring at the floor as she fisted the fabric of her skirt.
Levi-chan, Jet, Droy. Lucy muttered sadly, clenching her fists even tighter. This is too cruel. Phantom Lord has gone too far.
As Lucy sat beside Levi, she couldn't help remembering the first time she had met Team Shadowgear, and the girl who would become one of her best friends at Fairy Tail.
Luchan, I heard. You're writing a novel, aren't you?
Levi said excitedly, as she sat down next to Lucy.
Ugh, so it got out already.
Lucy groaned, shooting Gray a quick death glare.
Damn, Gray must have told everyone. Lucy muttered underneath her breath.
My name is Levi McGarden, and I'm 17 years old, just like you, Luchan. Levi said with a smile, before she gestured to the 2 men standing behind her.
This is Jet and Droy. We're on the same team together.
Both Jet and Droy smiled and waved at Lucy. I'm, for lack of a better word, horrible at writing, but I love to read.
Could I read your novel sometime, if you don't mind? I am sorry, it's not something I can show people yet.
Lucy replied, as her face started to flush red in embarrassment.
What are you talking about?
There's no point writing a novel if no gets to read it. Jet said, as he began to make his way over to the request board.
If you're going to be a novelist, you must be open to criticism.
Droy said, sticking his hands in his pockets. You won't get far if you're too embarrassed to let people read your work. Levi reasoned with a large smile.
Come on. Show me, please. Show me. It's not finished yet. Lucy said, trying to get out of the conversation. Then when it's finished, can I be the first reader?
Levi asked with a hopeful look. Sorry, I already promised Natsu that he could be the first to read it. Lucy replied, causing Levi's eyes to widen.
Natsu actually wants to read a book? He hates reading. Levi exclaimed in a shocked tone.
However, a mischievous grin spread across Levi's face a moment later. Natsu must really like you, Luchan, because he usually wouldn't be caught dead reading a novel.
I bet Natsu has the hots for you. Shut up.
Lucy squeaked, as her entire face burned near neon red. The blonde quickly buried her face into her arms to cover her intense blush.
If I let you be the second person to read my book, will you please stop? Yay! It's a promise.
Lucy said with a delighted look.
I can't forgive Phantom Lord.
Lucy said barely above a whisper, as tears fell from her eyes.
Natsu, everyone, please stop them. Oaktown, Phantom Lord Guild Hall. Ha ha ha. This is awesome. A Phantom Lord mage said with a crooked grin.
Those fairy bastards got their asses burned real good. That's not all, I heard Gajiel attacked 3 of their mages. Another Phantom Lord mage added, earning a cheer from several of his fellow guild members.
I was wondering, who was that person Master was talking about? No idea, man.
He told us to stay away or something like that.
Bah, whatever.
Here's to those pitiful fairy losers.
The Phantom Lord mage said, holding up his drink.
I bet they're trembling with their tails between their legs right now. Another mage said, as he toasted with his fellow guild member.
Shit. I lost track of time.
A mage said, shooting to his feet.
Ha, you meeting a girl?
Yeah,
not too shabby looking either. Though she's just a client.
The mage replied with an evil smirk. When I threatened her, she doubled the reward.
I bet I could have tripled it. Yeah, whatever.
The mage said, as he reached out to open the door. But he stopped when the loud rumbling echoed throughout Guildhall.
What the hell's that rumbling? Gee hee. Gajiel snickered, standing upon the rafters far above the floor. Looks like salamanders already here. This oughta be fun. Just as Gajiel finished speaking, the doors to the guild exploded open.
Flames burst outward, licking the walls as the entrance to Phantom Lord caught on fire. Where is he? A furious voice roared, as a figure began to walk through the flames. Where is Gajiel? All of the Phantom Lord Guild members' eyes widened when they saw Natsu emerge from the flames. The pink-haired dragon slayer's body was still engulfed in flames, as he menacingly advanced forward. Be bastard! A Phantom Lord mage yelled, charging towards Natsu. The dragon slayer didn't even glance at the mage, his flaming fist instantly flooring the phantom mage. Out of my way! Natsu growled, as he continued to walk forward. Four more Phantom Lord mages ran forward, and tried to attack Natsu. But the flames surrounding Natsu exploded outwards, sending them all flying back. Suddenly Natsu stopped, and began to sniff the air. The pink-haired dragon slayer's head instantly shot upwards, his eyes alight with fury when he saw Gajiel smirking down at him. Looks like you found me, Gajiel said, as he hopped down from the rafters. All the surrounding Phantom Lord mages took a step back, giving the two dragon slayers plenty of room. Your nose is pretty good, salamander. It's because you reek of Levi, Jet, and Droy's blood. Natsu snarled, cracking his knuckles. I'm here to pay you and your fucking guild back tenfold. Gee, is that so? Gajiel asked with an amused look. It will take more than just you to stop us. Oh, it's not just me, Natsu said with a grin, as the rest of his nakama burst out of the flames behind him. We're Fairy Tail, and we're here to kick all of your asses. All of the Fairy Tail mages let out a resounding cheer, as they began to attack the Phantom Lord mages. Gajiel, you're all mine. I've been looking forward to this, salamander, Gajiel said with a vicious smirk. Even though Guildarts, Laxus, and Mystigan aren't here, Master Jose's plan is going better than expected. On the other side of the guild, Makarov was fighting a group of Phantom Lord mages. The enemy mages didn't stand a chance, as Fairy Tail's master tore through their ranks like paper. Makarov's arms grew to massive sizes, smashing Phantom Lord mages to the ground. The enemy mages howled in pain, as they felt their bones crack and break. He's a monster, a Phantom Lord mage rasped out, as he struggled against Makarov's iron grip. You attacked this monster's children, Makarov said in a dark tone, glaring at the mages around him. Don't think you'll be protected by human laws. The Phantom Lord mages took a fearful step back, as Makarov threw the mage he was holding into a nearby wall. Jose! Show yourself! We know where his Gajiel is, Urza exclaimed, slashing through a group of Phantom Lord mages. But where is the Elemental 4? Back in Magnolia. **** kinda wish I had went with everyone else, Lucy said, as she walked through an alley on her way home. The blonde had decided to go home and rest for a bit, before she returned to watch over Levi, Jet, and Droy. As Lucy walked through the alleyway, she was surprised when it suddenly started to rain. No way. Rain when the sun is out? Lucy stopped walking when she saw a figure approaching her. When the figure was close enough, Lucy saw that it was a blue-haired girl. The girl was wearing heavy winter clothing, and had a hat on her head. Drip, drip, drop, the woman said, as she walked towards Lucy. Yes, Juvia brings the rain. Drip, drip, drop. Ha! Lucy said with a confused look. The blonde's eyes narrowed slightly, as she scanned over the mysterious girl's features. I feel like I know this girl from somewhere, but I can't remember. What do you bring? Juvia asked, holding her hand out to catch some rain. Who are you? Lucy replied in a confused tone. I had fun. Farewell, Juvia said, spinning around and starting to walk away. Drip, drip, drop. What the hell was that all about? Lucy asked, watching the blue-haired woman walk away. Non. 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 A new voice echoed throughout the alleyway. Juvia stopped dead in her tracks, as a green-haired man with a monocle materialized from the ground. The man smiled, as he gazed at Lucy.
Bonjour with Nan in a 3-3-7 rhythm. Another weirdo?
Lucy said under breath, feeling her skin beginning to crawl.
Juvia-sama, you can't just walk away from your mission,
the newcomer said, as he turned to look at Juvia.
Monsieur Soul,
Juvia said in a surprised tone. My monocle is telling me that Mademoiselle over there is none other than our target, Soul said, his head tilted to the side.
Oh my, she's the one?
Juvia said, as she turned to face Lucy.
Pardon my manners, Mademoiselle, Soul said, clapping his hands. I am Soul.
You may call me Monsieur Soul. The man smiled, as he leaned towards Lucy. We've come from the great Phantom Lord to welcome you.
Juvia is a member of the Elemental Four, who brings rain,
Juvia explained, as the rain began to fall more intensely.
Phantom Lord?
Lucy exclaimed, as her eyes widened in shock.
Why, you're the ones who attacked Levi-chan.
An angry look spread across Lucy's face, as she reached for her celestial spirit keys.
Lucy's eyes narrowed again when she saw Juvia. Now I remember where I know her from.
That blue curled hair, blue eyes, and control over the rain.
There's no doubt.
She has to be that rain girl that Natsu told me he met during a mission a few years ago.
To think she's now a part of Phantom Lord.
Before Lucy could make any moves, she was suddenly encased in a sphere of water. The blonde's eyes widened, as she began to struggle against the water encasing her.
Nan. I'd like to clear up your misunderstanding with 3 nans, Soul said, twiddling with his pencil-thin mustache.
Wrecking the guild and attacking Levi-sama, all were done by Gajil-sama, though it is true that this was done with a unanimous vote from our guild.
What is this thing?
Lucy gasped out, managing to push her head through the water barrier.
Juvia's water lock cannot be broken,
Juvia said, as she swiped her hand.
Lucy yelped as she was yanked back into the sphere of water.
Lucy's eyes began to close, as she lost consciousness due to air lose. A few moments later Lucy was out cold.
Très bien,
Soul said with a smile, as he watched Lucy float in the water sphere.
Don't worry, Juvia won't kill you, for it is Juvia's job to bring you back,
Juvia said, not noticing that Lucy's keys fell from the water sphere.
Lucy Heartfilia-sama.
Victory!
Soul cheered, adjusting his monocle. Capture complete,
Juvia said with a small smile, as she began to lead Lucy away.
Phantom Lord Guild Hall. Urza! Makarov yelled over the sounds of an all-out brawl.
Fairy Tail's master dodged an incoming attack, before smashing a group of Phantom Lord mages into the ground. I'm putting you in charge here. The scarlet-haired knight nodded, as she slashed through some phantom grunts with dual swords.
Jose is probably on the top floor. I'm going up there to tear him a new one. Be safe, master,
Urza said, punching a phantom mage in the face with her armored fist.
On the other side of Phantom Lord's Guild Hall, Natsu and Gajil stared each other down.
Both Fairy Tail and Phantom Lord mages gave the 2 dragon slayers a wide berth, so that they wouldn't get in the way of their fight.
Gajil couldn't help but smirk as he watched the dual dragon slayer across from him.
On the outside Natsu seemed calm and collected, but Gajil could tell that the pink-haired dragon slayer was seething with rage on the inside.
Jihi, what are you waiting for, salamander? Gajil taunted with a sneer. I thought you were going to kick my ass. I am,
Natsu said, glaring at the Iron Dragon Slayer.
I'm just waiting for the right moment to strike. Well, if you're not gonna attack, I'll make the first move,
Gajil exclaimed, as he shot forward. One of Gajil's arms turned into a large iron club. With a wicked grin, Gajil swung the iron club at Natsu. But before Gajil's attack could hit, an unconscious Phantom Lord mage came flying in. The knocked-out mage crashed into Gajil, sending him tumbling to the ground. Natsu turned his head to see Urza give him a thumbs up. The pink-haired dragon slayer grinned at Urza, before he returned his attention to Gajil.
That was a dirty move, salamander,
Gajil said, throwing the Phantom Lord mage of his chest. Not nearly as dirty as what you did to our guild and levy.
Natsu growled, continuing to glare at Gajeel.
Growl asterisk take this. Gajeel roared, as he shot forward once again. This time Gajeel's right arm turned into a large iron sword. But when Gajeel swung his sword at Natsu, he was shocked to see the dual dragon slayer stop his attack with both hands.
Gajeel roared in pain when Natsu's hands sparked to life with electricity. The lightning coursed through Gajeel's iron body, which naturally conducted the electricity.
Your ass whooping starts now,
Natsu exclaimed, cocking his electrified fist back. Lightning Dragon's Iron Fist.
Natsu's lightning-coated fist shot forward, hitting the dazed Iron Dragon Slayer in the stomach. All the air left Gajeel's lungs, as he went soaring into the air. With a loud grunt of pain, Gajeel crashed through several of the rafters above the floor.
You bastard! Gajeel shouted, as he spun around and sprang off one of the rafters.
However, Gajeel had put too much power into his legs, and had misjudged how fast he would spring off the rafters.
He had reached Natsu before he even had a chance to react. Lightning Dragon's Claw. Natsu, however, was prepared for Gajeel's increased speed. With a throaty growl, Natsu slammed his electrified foot down on the back of Gajeel's neck.
The Iron Dragon coughed out a small amount of blood, as he smashed chest first into the floor.
Fire Dragon's Iron Fist. Natsu's flaming fist crashed into the Iron Dragon Slayer's back. Gajeel roared in pain, as Natsu's flames scorched his back.
Fire Dragon's dash. Before Natsu could finish his attack, Gajeel quickly rolled out of the way and jumped back up into the rafters. Gajeel was panting heavily, and his body was covered in dozens of bruises and cuts.
That's my Natsu,
Urza said with a warm smile, watching Natsu roll his shoulders. The Fire Dragon Slayer still didn't have a single scratch on him.
So?
Gajeel said with a smirk, as he spit out some blood.
That all you got, Salamander?
The Iron Dragon's tone was still cocky and full of arrogance, but Natsu could tell that there was also a hidden nervous edge in Gajeel's voice.
Gajeel continued to smirk, as he yanked several nails out of the rafters around him.
Biting down into the nails, Gajeel could feel newfound energy coursing through his body.
Don't you worry, that was just a friendly hello from one dragon slayer to another, Natsu said, lightning coating both his hands. You still have a lot of ass kicking to take.
Gee, is that dash? Before Gajeel could finish, the entire guild began to shake and tremble.
What is that? An earthquake. The entire guild is trembling. This is gonna get ugly real quick,
Gray said with a smirk, causing the Phantom Lord mages around him to take a step back.
This is Master Makarov's fury,
Urza explained, as she wiped some sweat off her brow.
No one can stop a giant's fury. That's the man, Master Makarov,
Elfman said with a grin.
As long as we have him, we can't lose.
On Phantom Lord's top floor, the halls quaked and shook, as Makarov slowly walked through them.
An enormous amount of magic energy was surging off Makarov. The magic coursing of Makarov destroyed everything it touched. Jose!
Makarov growled in a furious tone, as he approached Phantom Lord's master.
What the hell do you think you're doing?
Ha! Why hello there. Long time no see, Makarov-san, Jose said with a crooked smile, crossing his legs. I think we last met at the regular meeting 6 years ago. Boy, I got so wasted that time, I really overdid it with the sake.
Without warning, Makarov's enlarged fist launched towards Jose. However, Makarov's fist went clear through Jose's body, as if it wasn't even there. I'm not here to catch up with you, Jose, Makarov snarled, veins bulging on his forehead.
Ho, ho, ho. Jose chuckled, as he lowered his head, his body flickering slightly.
My oh my. An image. Makarov shouted in anger. You, already left the guild? A battle between two of the 10 wizard saints can cause extraordinary natural occurrences, Jose explained, a small smirk spreading across his face. I prefer a rational victory. Where are you? Makarov roared, his anger growing even more. Come and fight me fair and square.
Just then another image flickered in front of Jose. Makarov's eyes widened when he saw Lucy tied up at Jose's feet. Lucy! A few floors below, Natsu had just dodged a punch from Gajeel, and countered with a knee to the Iron Dragon Slayer's stomach. Gajeel gasped in pain, as he collapsed to his knees. Natsu coated his fist in flames, and prepared to strike Gajeel. But Natsu's enhanced hearing picked up a shout from the top floor. The pink-haired Dragon Slayer stopped dead in his tracks when he heard the blonde's name. Luce? Natsu parroted with a confused look. I thought she stayed back in Magnolia. Due to his distraction, Natsu didn't notice Gajeel rise back to his feet. The Iron Dragon Slayer reacted quickly, and struck Natsu with an iron club to the chest. Natsu went crashing through several tables, as he flew across the Phantom Lord Guildhall. While Natsu slowly stood back to his feet, Gajeel sorted through the debris surrounding him. The Iron Dragon Slayer grinned when he grabbed a handful of scrap metal. Once again Gajeel chewed on the iron scraps, letting new energy flow through him. Back up on the top floor, Makarov stared at Lucy's unconscious form in shock. Fairy Tail's master couldn't understand why Jose would capture her. Why? Makarov shouted, as he watched Jose pull out a dagger. With an evil grin, Jose lunged the dagger towards Lucy. And oh. Makarov reached out to stop Jose, but he never noticed a new presence appear behind him. Feeling magic gathering behind him, Makarov quickly spun around. Makarov's eyes widened when he saw a large man, with a blindfold covering his eyes, standing behind him. Shit! I didn't even notice him approach. So the blindfolded man said, as tears suddenly began to pour from his covered eyes. Sorrowful. Makarov roared in pain, as he was hit with a powerful wave of magical energy. Fairy Tail's master crashed through a nearby wall, and began to fall towards the floor below. Ho, there's no way we'd kill Lucy-sama, right? Jose said with a dark laugh, his dagger landing next to Lucy's head. At least not yet. What is happening? Makarov thought, as he felt all the magical energy leaving his body. I can't use any of my magic. Please don't tell me you didn't know who Lucy Heartfilia-sama, while she belonged to your guild. Jose said in a taunting tone. Well, I guess it's none of your business anymore. It's so sorrowful. The blindfolded man wailed, as tears continued to flow from his eyes. Where doth this sorrow cometh from? Is this sorrow due to the world losing a great mage? All the fighting on the ground floor stopped when a small object crashed into the floor. All the Fairy Tail mages' eyes widened when they saw their master barely conscious on the ground. Master. Natsu and Urza breathed out in a shocked tone, as they both broke out in a cold sweat. Ugh, ah. Makarov wheezed, his breathing heavy and labored. My magical power. At an unknown location, Jose smiled darkly, as he grabbed a hold of Lucy's shoulder. Phantom Lord's master hoisted Lucy onto his shoulder, and began to lead her towards a nearby cell. Arya-san's magic takes away an opponent's magical power, or in other words, making it void. Jose explained with a smirk, roughly tossing Lucy into the cell. This victory is ours. Back at the Phantom Lord Guild Hall, all of the Fairy Tail mages stood too shocked to move. Makarov continued to struggle to breath, as he writhed on the floor. Master! Ji-chan! Both Natsu and Urza ran over to their crippled master. Urza gently picked Makarov up and began to check all of his vitals. Master! Hang in there! I don't sense any magic coming from Ji-chan. What's going on? Natsu exclaimed, as he kneeled next to Urza. TCH, I guess the fun's over. Gajeel said, wiping some blood from the corner of his mouth. Mages on both sides quickly began to mutter and shout amongst themselves. Impossible! How can our master be defeated? Awesome! Now their battle strength is cut in half. What on earth happened upstairs? Let's crush them now! With a roar of approval, the Phantom Lord mages started their counterattack. They're too weak to beat us now. No! It's not only our battle strength. Urza thought, wiping a tear from the corner of her eye. Having low morale is only going to cause us more problems. Taking a deep breath, Urza stood onto her feet. Retreat! Everyone back to the guild. No way! Gray growled, as he began to gather ice magic. Yeah, men don't retreat. Elfman roared, taking a fighting stance. We can still fight. Macau and Bisca said, preparing to fight back. We cannot defeat Jose without our master. Urza reasoned in a desperate tone. We're retreating. That's an order. My leaving already? Gajiel asked, hanging from the rafters above. So sorrowful. Arya said, appearing above Gajiel. Arya, you're still creepy as hell. Gajiel said, as he looked up at Arya. I'm surprised that you defeated that old geezer. All a part of Master Jose's plan. Arya said, as tears once again fell from his eyes. Wonderful. Damn, stop crying over every little fucking thing. Gajiel said in an annoyed tone, as he jumped up next to Arya. So, did we catch that Lucy girl? Natsu's head immediately snapped up when he heard this. She's being held at our headquarters. Arya replied, wiping away the tears from his cheeks. What? Natsu roared, as he leaped up into the rafters. Gajiel. Let's finish this some other time, salamander. Gajiel said with a sneer, as he and Arya seemingly disappeared into thin air. Wait! Natsu yelled in a panicked tone. The pink-haired dragon slayer's head fell, as he tightly clenched his fists. They captured Luce. We're leaving now. Everyone retreat. Urza ordered, ushering her guild mates out of Phantom Lord's guild hall. They've taken one of your chosen mates. A deep voice growled in Natsu's mind. You must get her back. Like hell, we're gonna let you run away. A Phantom Lord mage exclaimed, as he rushed towards the retreating fairy tale mages. You! Natsu roared, dropping to the floor and grabbing a hold of the Phantom Lord mage. We're gonna have a nice chat. Natsu! What are you doing? Happy shouted, as he flew up next to Natsu. What do you think? Natsu growled, dragging the Phantom Lord mage behind him. I'm going to save Luce. With a strong pull, Natsu dragged the struggling Phantom Lord mage out of the guild hall. Urza! How can we retreat like this? Gray yelled, still itching to get revenge against Phantom Lord. We've gotta avenge Levi and the others. However, Gray was surprised when Urza gently placed her hand on his shoulder. The Ice Mage was shocked to see tears falling from Urza's eyes. Urza? Please Gray, we've gotta retreat for now. Urza pleaded, her voice shaking slightly. Master's loss is too much for us to take right now. Alright, let's go. Gray said quietly, as he followed the rest of his guild mates out of Phantom Lord. A few hundred feet outside of Phantom Lord, Natsu continued to drag the kicking and screaming Phantom Mage. The Dragon Slayer didn't look back, as smoke and fire billowed out of Phantom Lord's guild hall. Now, you're gonna tell me where Lucy is. Natsu growled, his grip on the mage's shirt tightening. I have no idea who you're talking about. The Phantom Lord Mage said, before he suddenly howled in pain. The Phantom Mage's entire body was engulfed in flames, as Natsu continued to drag him through the dirt. He is withholding information, you must strike fear into his very soul. Another deep voice said with a slight snarl. Speak up. Natsu said in almost demonic tone, as he shot the enemy mage a glare so fierce that it would kill weaker men. If Lucy has a single scratch on her, I'll burn you to a crisp, but I'll make sure you're still barely clinging to life. Then I'll feed you to the Vulcans, and let them tear you to shreds. After that I'll come back to your guild, and kill all your friends and family with my bare hands. Holy shit. The Phantom Lord Mage breathed out, as his eyes widened in pure fear. I really don't know anybody by that name. But our headquarters is located in the hills straight ahead. Maybe she's over there. You must show them that they are to never interfere with a dragon and his chosen mates, make an example out of him. The rumbling voice from earlier growled.
Thanks for your cooperation, Natsu said, slamming his foot into one of the Phantom Lord Mage's knees.
The enemy mage roared in pain as he felt his kneecap shatter.
Now, go crawl back to your friends and tell them what happened to you. Natsu paid the man little attention as he cried out in agony.
Turning his back to the Phantom Lord Mage, Natsu began to make his way towards Phantom Lord's headquarters.
Never mess with a dragon's mate,
Natsu growled under his breath as he began to sprint towards the hills ahead.
Natsu,
Happy whispered as he flew above the Dragon Slayer.
What's gotten into you? Phantom Lord's headquarters.
Ugh. Lucy groaned as she slowly regained consciousness. The blonde's eyes widened when she felt that her hands were tied behind her back.
Where is this? Where the fuck am I? I see that you're finally awake, Lucy Heartfilia-sama.
A deep voice said from behind Lucy.
Who the hell are you?
Lucy yelled as she backed away from door behind her.
I'm Phantom Lord's master, Jose.
Jose replied as he stepped into Lucy's cell.
Phantom Lord,
Lucy exclaimed with a panicked look. That's right, I was captured by that rain girl from the Elemental Four. I apologize for tying you up and putting you in this filthy cell, Jose said as he approached Lucy. But you're still a captive.
Please try to understand. Untie me now, you bastard,
Lucy screamed as she got onto her knees. The celestial spirit mage leveled a fierce glare on Phantom Lord's master.
I'm no captive.
How dare you hurt Levi-chan and the others?
Depending on your attitude, we might treat you as a VIP, instead of a captive, Jose explained, smirking down at Lucy.
What? Lucy growled, her glare sharpening. However, Lucy's tough facade dropped the second she felt a centipede crawl up her thigh.
Hyah!
Lucy let out a girlish scream as she began to thrash around, trying to get the disgusting bug of her.
See? You don't want to stay in this cell, right?
Jose asked, an amused smirk still plastered on his face.
If you behave, we'll move you into a suite.
Why did you attack us?
Lucy asked, sitting back onto her knees.
Us?
Jose parroted, as he quirked an eyebrow.
Ah, you mean fairy tale. A twisted smile slowly spread across Jose's face.
That was purely a bonus. Just a bonus.
Jose's creepy smile never left his face, as he crossed his arms behind his back.
Our true objective was capture a certain individual.
That certain individual happened to belong to Fairy Tail, so we thought why not kill two birds with one stone.
A certain individual?
Lucy repeated in a confused tone.
You're so slow that I can't believe you're a daughter of the Heartfilia family,
Jose said, causing Lucy's eyes to widen.
Who else could it be? Daughter of the Heartfilia conglomerate, Lucy Heartfilia-sama. How do you know about that?
Lucy asked, as she hung her head. I heard, you were hiding your social status from your guild, Jose replied with a slight chuckle. However, I can't understand why the daughter of one of the richest men in Fiore would partake in such cheap and dangerous work, but...
So then you kidnap me?
Lucy asked, raising her head to look up at Jose.
Oh no, don't be absurd,
Jose said, as he waved dismissively.
It was none other than your father who hired us to get you.
Lucy's eyes widened and a shocked look spread across her face when she heard this.
No,
Lucy said through clenched teeth, lowering her head once again.
Why, you're lying, why would he? Isn't it normal for a father to want his pretty daughter to return home when she runs away? Jose questioned, his smirk widening. He wouldn't,
Lucy shouted suddenly, catching Jose off guard.
He would never bother to do that.
The celestial spirit mage's head shot up, and she glared at Jose once again.
I won't ever go back.
I will never go back to that hellhole.
Lucy continued to stare at Jose defiantly. I will never abandon Natsu, or Fairy Tail. My, what a troublesome little girl, Jose said, releasing a light sigh. Release me at once. Lucy demanded, gritting her teeth. I cannot do that. Jose said, causing an embarrassed look to spread across Lucy's face. But I need to go to the bathroom. Lucy admitted, her face turning a deep shade of red. TCH, such a lame excuse, isn't it? Jose asked, cocking his head slightly. No. I really mean it, can't hold it much longer. Lucy said, as she began to squirm in place. Go right ahead. Jose said, pointing to a bucket behind Lucy. The blonde's jaw hung open as she stared at the dirty bucket in the corner. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Lucy muttered under her breath as his face turned an even deeper shade of red. Ho, it's such a lame excuse that you won't catch us off guard. Jose taunted, however Phantom Lord's master was surprised to see Lucy walk over the bucket. A bucket, huh? Lucy said, as she reached under her skirt to pull down her panties. You're actually gonna do it? Jose shouted, earning him a glare from the blonde. I said I had to fucking go, didn't I? Lucy exclaimed, averting her eyes in embarrassment. What a shameless young lady, and such a foul mouth on her. Jose huffed, turning his back to Lucy. She's lucky I'm such a gentleman. Too bad for you I'm not very ladylike. Lucy exclaimed, as she kicked Jose straight in the balls. The blonde's kick was so strong that it lifted Jose several inches off the ground. All the air left Jose's lungs as he collapsed to the floor. The man's hands instantly went to cover his crushed manhood. Phantom Lords could barely breathe, a few tears even escaped his eyes. A classic excuse isn't so bad after all, you dick. Now be a good boy. Lucy turned to walk out the door, but she was shocked to see that the door had been replaced by a large open window. Eh? Ha. Jose managed a pained laugh as he continued to writhe on the floor. It's a pity, isn't it? This is our sky prison. Lucy's eyes widened as she stared at the ground far below. With a loud grunt, Jose managed to get back onto his feet. How dare you do that to me? As Jose neared, Lucy couldn't stop an image of her father appearing in her head. The blonde's jaw clenched as she imagined going back to her previous life. Now, come to me, it's time for your punishment, I have to teach you to fear the Phantom. Lucy took another glance at the ground below her. It was an extremely long fall, and there was no way she'd survive. But there was no way she was going to return to her father. As Lucy weighed her options, she began to feel a familiar magical presence rapidly approaching. The magical power was overpowering and caused her knees to grow weak, but at the same time it made her feel extremely safe and secure. There was only one person whose magic could make her feel like this. Then Lucy heard his voice, it was extremely faint but she knew she had heard. Taking one last glance down, Lucy took a deep breath. Moments later Lucy fell through the large window, letting gravity speed her descent towards the ground below. The hell? Jose screamed, as he collapsed to his knees once again. I know I heard his voice. I know I sensed his magic. I'm sure he's here. Lucy thought, feeling air rush past her as she raced towards the ground. Natsu! Lucy! Natsu exclaimed, as he sprinted as fast as his legs could take him. The scenery blurred by, as Natsu ran with incredible speed. As soon as the dragon slayer was close enough, he leaped into the air. Natsu felt a powerful wave of relief wash over him when he felt Lucy fall into his arms. The pink-haired dragon slayer pulled Lucy in tight, and quickly spun around. Both mages crashed into a low stone wall, Natsu taking the brunt of the impact. Lucy had managed to land on top of Natsu, her large breasts pressing into his face. My face is buried in Lucy's tits. Natsu thought, as a slight blush spread across his face. I can die happy now. Whoa! Lucy fell from the sky. Happy exclaimed, flying up to both mages. I knew it. Lucy said, a warm smile gracing her face. I knew you'd come for me, Natsu. Are you okay, Luce? Natsu asked, as he tore apart the ropes binding her hands. Yeah, I'm fine.
Lucy replied, causing Natsu to let out a sigh of relief. Thank God, I was so worried, Luce. Natsu said, pulling Lucy in for a tight hug. I was so worried they'd take you away. I'm fine, thanks to you, Natsu. Lucy said, returning Natsu's embrace. He's so warm. Great. Let's head back to the guild now. Happy cheered, as Natsu released Lucy. Ha! We're at these bastards' headquarters. So? Natsu tried to argue, but Happy cut him off. Urza told us to retreat. Happy pointed out, causing Natsu to falter for a moment. I know. But we need to take these guys out before they attack us again. Natsu argued, glaring at the building behind them. But Master is really hurt. Happy said, causing Lucy's eyes to widen. We'll avenge Ji-chan by kicking all their asses. Natsu exclaimed, his anger growing with each second that passed. Plus I need to teach them a lesson for stealing Lucy away from me. It's impossible all by yourself, Natsu. Happy countered, earning a growl from the Dragon Slayer. I don't care, I've overcome impossible odds before. Natsu countered, as he crossed his arms over his chest. Happy and Natsu quickly delved into a back-and-forth argument. Everyone's injured, Natsu. I'm not. Nab even broke some bones. He's weak. Warren is really hurt too. As Natsu and Happy argued, Lucy felt an overpowering sense of guilt envelope her. Every word spoke was another pang of guilt in her heart. All of her nakama were hurt and suffering because of her. The guild was destroyed because of her. Levi, Jet, and Droy were hospitalized because of her. I'm sorry. Lucy whispered, her voice shaky. Both Natsu and Happy stopped their argument when they heard Lucy's soft voice. I'm so sorry. It's all my fault. Lucy turned to look at Natsu and Happy, tears pouring from her eyes. Natsu's heart instantly broke when he saw the pain and anguish in Lucy's eyes. But I still want to stay in the guild. I love Fairy Tail, I love all of my nakama. Lucy chalked back a sob, as she locked eyes with Natsu. And I love you. Hey now. Natsu said in a worried tone, crouching down next to Lucy. The Dragon Slayer immediately wrapped an arm around Lucy's shoulders. What's wrong, Luce? Of course you can stay. No one wants you to leave. We're not gonna let these bastards take you away from us. You're not going anywhere. Natsu, we should head back to the guild. Happy said, earning a quick nod from Natsu. Why yeah. Natsu said, as he stood back onto his feet. The Dragon Slayer smiled faintly, helping Lucy wipe away her tears. It's probably for the best. Natsu then turned around, and patted his back. Hop on, Luce. Why, you're going to carry me? Lucy squeaked, her face tinging pink. Yeah, you must be exhausted. Natsu said, flashing Lucy a toothy grin. I can carry you back now, problem. Oh, okay. Lucy stuttered out, as she climbed onto Natsu's back. The blonde wrapped her arms around Natsu's neck, as his hands grabbed a hold of her thighs. As Natsu stood onto his feet, Lucy felt surrounded in an overwhelmingly pleasant warmth and tingling sensation. Lucy let out content sigh, as she buried her face into the crook of Natsu's neck. Within moments of their departure, Lucy's eyelids became heavy, allowing sleep to overcome her. As Natsu retreated back to Fairy Tail, with his precious cargo in tow, Jose was struggling to stand back onto his feet. Phantom Lord's master was still nearly incapacitated by Lucy's strong kick. Every time Jose managed to get back onto his feet, he would quickly collapse back onto his knees, as an enormous wave of pain would wash over him. Releasing a feral growl, Jose slammed his fist into the ground, causing it to crumble under his powerful strike. How dare you do that to me, you little bitch! Jose exclaimed in a furious tone, as veins bulged along his face. I will destroy your guild, and kill all of your friends. Then I'm gonna drag your ass back to your father by your fucking hair. That wraps up this part of What If Natsu Had Dual Elements. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned.
Quick reminder. What if Dragon Deck user in Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal and What If Reborn as a Goku clone will be going on hold soon, since we've nearly caught up with the author. So now, I need your help picking the next project for the channel. I'm currently deciding between these three fanfics. What if Gacha system in Modern Family World? What if Fusion Deck user in a different Yu-Gi-Oh! GX? What if Transmigrated in One Piece and becoming a Marine? Please vote in the poll and let me know which story you'd like to see next. I'll take the top 2 picks and start working on those 2 series next. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.